Drift Masters is back in 2025 and it's coming in hot. This season, 10 Drift Masters pros step into the sim to battle 40 of the last season's best virtual drivers in a showdown like no other. With 7 rounds of high-stakes action and top 32 broadcasts every Sunday, the stage is set for something legendary. And calling all the action, you may ask? It's me, Tiny, bringing the hype, the energy, and every tire-shredding moment. This is Virtual Drift Masters 2025. Let's go.
Oh, the shadow attacks the wall, almost throws it away as Heidenen backs it in across the line.
Unbelievable again. What a final. What a finish. Rory Heinen is your 2024 champion.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Virtual Drift Masters. My name is Jonathan Tiny Warbe, and we have a new co-commentator today, Alec McEwen. Man, Alec, it's an absolute pleasure to be working back with you again. Introduce yourself to the fans of Virtual Drift Masters.
Yeah, what's going on, Jonathan? Hi, everyone. My name is Alec, and I am the announcer for U.S. Drift Circuit in America. I've been into drifting since I was a kid, driving over here in Florida. And honestly, this is just going to be an exciting day. We did some announcing in real life, and now we get a chance to do it for Virtual Drift Masters. So I've been following the series. I'm a big fan, and now it's going to be really cool to be up here in, I guess, the virtual announcers booth with you, and just hit you with the play-by-play and keep the action as exciting as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're in Madrid, Spain, the second round. Well, it's actually going to be technically the first round this year. They had to cancel the previous round in Italy, but it's going to be a crazy, crazy fun event. You have some sim drivers as well as some IRL drivers, some Drift Masters guys out here competing. With you being in the real world and driving yourself, you're going to have that unique perspective. We've had that one-on-one conversations multiple times as co-commentators. What are you expecting today with this Madrid layout? We'll go over the prize pools too in short bit too, so you could get a quick understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, all of the layouts are pretty technical within this series. What I really like about the virtual competition and what that brings to the skill level is that in the virtual simulation of where we do these drift competitions, there's not as much risk because if you crash the car, you're not out for the entire season. So what that allows all the drivers to do is really extend and find the limits. And for that reason, I think that we can find some much more aggressive driving in the virtual landscape than what we might find in real life. So from most of these drivers, I'm expecting them to understand that, like, for someone who has the acknowledgement of that, which I'm sure the judges all do, I mean, coming into this series, starting at the first corner, you got a very, very fast incoming entry. So because of that, I'm expecting all the drivers to really fling the cars, and then coming into those outer zones, keep as much of that momentum up and angle up as high as possible, while also getting as close to the walls as possible. So this is something that even when you watch it from a driver who's very experienced, looking very comfortable, they can make it look much easier than it actually is.
Yeah, you see the layout right here on the run replays, this really shallow angle, and then it goes to steep angle going into these outer zones here, and then diving into that inner clip 5. Inner zone 5 is going to be a really exciting part, especially in this other decel going around to inner zone 8. This is definitely going to be a fast track for these guys, and I'm super excited to see how they perform. Right here you have the Strom Ragnar Simulator Virtual Drift Masters bracket here, and they're going to be running through the top 32, and then we're going to be also taking a break between the top 32 and top 16s. And man, it's always been exciting seeing these guys drive. I'll give you some rundowns. You said you've commented the U.S. Drift Circuit for Florida, and we've done it before. You gave me the quick spiel of the drivers going through. Now I get to give you the spiel of the sim drivers. And it's going to be a cool a changing of the guard, I guess, and good passing around the torch there. So
yeah, and really quick, I also wanted to point out when we saw that that track preview. So the decel zones are always going to be the really tough part for the drivers. You got to be able to predict what the lead driver is going to do, and at the same time, as you don't want to fall apart there, you also want to try and use that opportunity to surge. So it's always a gamble going into a decel zone, and people can get really choked up if they end up trying to dive in, and for some reason lead driver decels a little bit too much. This is where we see a lot of those collisions start to happen, where we see really the controversial calls start to come in, because you can have a crash that's created purely because of the fact that there was a miscalculation by whoever's diving, but sometimes the lead driver just ends up decelling too aggressively.
Yep, and you have on the top right of the screen the socials for Drift Masters Virtual. Definitely drop a follow on them, especially on the Instagram. We like to post our updates and everything. And also a great thing about the series this year, you're gonna see live cams of these drivers. Some of these drivers that have a webcam set up, so you can actually see them on a wheel. We are on Assetto Corsa, and overall these guys out here, we have Nico the Kid Stella. He's going to be competing in the middle of this bracket. Alan Hines, the Drift Masters driver. We also have our guy that won last round, Zach O'Sullivan. Absolute killer on the sim. And then you have Ethan Petraku, Artem Chokov, Reese Tatterson. He was in that famous video for Drift Masters when he got to drive a pro car. But here's our first battle. As you see, they're staggered out. There's no chicanes. It's Artem Chokov versus Alexander Element. Alexander Element is a DCGP Season 11 champion. Alexander Element is going to be on the right, and Artem Chokov is that man that with the jumpsuit on the left. He's getting amped up. Here we go. First battle of Virtual Drift Masters here in Madrid. Coming in with a nice initiation. Alexander Element does a great job keeping a nice clean line, going to that first two outer zones and then into the second and third outer zone, going to that inner clip where that decel is. But look at Chokov getting aggressive proximity throughout this run. My goodness.
That's a great, amazing first run to just set the tempo. And as you can, speaking of tempo, I mean, how fast is this coming through the zone? So as you see them on the replay come through here, you just see how much momentum they're carrying throughout the entire track. And you can also just see the proximity. I mean, Chokov did not choke today. There you go, my first dad joke of the day, Tiny. And then, but then in the chase, Element is just right there. So right off the bat, clean run. It's anybody's game going into that next run, because that was close enough that if there's another battle on the return and it's just as close, I could see that going into an easy one more time.
Yeah, and we're used to seeing the chicanes at the start. They changed it this year, so the chase car sits back further, so they could get that little jump here. But here we go. We got our second half of this battle. Alexander Element and Artem Chokov. Number 44 is Alexander Element. He is leading now, and Chokov is in the chase. Here we go. Lights are green. Second half of this battle. It looks like a jump.
Nope.
Chokov is gonna call it there, and we're gonna have him come back to the line.
You know, I love the dedication to being able to have the cameras on the drivers on the simulator. We talked about this before the round started. I thought that's such a cool addition for anyone who's watching, and now we can give that an opportunity and just, you know, commend Chokov for the wearing the fire suit. I'd be worried though, because even though this is like a virtual race car, if you're wearing a fire suit, what if you just like spontaneously catch on fire now because you've taken a precaution against virtual fire?
I think Artem Chokov last round had a suit jacket on, so that was his racing suit, if you want to say a simulator racing suit. It was a fun and exciting experience. He's taking a sip of his coffee. Maybe it's Red Bull. You don't know.
I'm ready to see a fire extinguisher in the background, maybe a full suppression system around the sim rig.
have like that red tab that they pull. That'll be actually pretty entertaining if someone wins the competition and they have a cam on, and when they win they just pull this this cord and it's confetti coming out of nowhere.
I think I would
Oh
just do
man.
that with like shaving cream if I get into an actual like a virtual crash. Like if I go into the wall, I'll just pull the cord and you'll see me get covered in shaving cream. How it works.
Man, your wife would kill you.
She's gonna walk in. I thought you were announcing. Well, there's risks involved, honey.
And it looks like it's a win for Alexander Element. I don't know. Maybe David would. Was that a jump? We'll get a quick rundown on there. I don't know if they have a quick explanation.
So,
I think Arnold.
hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah,
we
there's
hear you.
David.
Great. So we checked the starting procedure, and we did not see anything wrong with Alexander Element's start. So unfortunately, this gives the points completely to Alexander because Artyom did not start it, and we needed to give him the win. So for all the drivers, just keep this to the judges. Don't think that that was a false start or something, because something like that can unfortunately happen.
Thank you,
All right, well,
David.
there you
And
have
David
it.
Kalas is a Drift Masters judge, and he's been leading the charge for the judges. And you coming in here, Alec, it's been fantastic. When I talked to you about how close linked Drift Masters is with Virtual Series, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we see a lot of people doing right now is just very cautiously approaching this idea of a virtual drift competition, and they just kind of want to see someone else as a community get it off the ground before they're willing to really invest. And what you see with Virtual Drift Masters is that it's really a cohesive effort with Drift Masters, the organization, and the people who put on the Virtual Drift Series, and you can see that by people like David being a part of it. But now we're jumping into that next battle. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see both sides of the previous one, but we've got, oh, I'm going to mess up these names. Jarbo in the chase,
Ethan.
and Petraku in the lead.
Yep, we got Ethan Petraku. He's going to be in that lead with that JZX81 coming in with a nice aggressive initiation. Whoa, super speed going through that inner clip 1 and then transitioning into outer zone 3. Beautiful fill out. Look at Jarbo rubbing that front tire on Petraku's door as Petraku angles up onto that inner clip, the final inner clip to the final outer zone. That was absolutely diabolical.
Woo! Great driving by Petraco, but obviously it was not enough to be able to get away. As we were able to see, as we're able to jump into the replay there. I mean, so much speed coming through this. I mean, I feel so bad. I mean, show us on the Hot Wheels toy where he touched you, because it was door-to-door action coming through that first corner. Lots of speed as they get out to that outside zone. That zone, there's a little bit of a gap there, but this is where he really starts to reel him in on that outside zone. You can see the RX-7 start to dive in as they get to the inside and to that touch and go. He just doesn't pull off, doesn't let him loose. This is that decel zone where I said everyone's got to be pretty careful. But you see him dive in and stay right with him. You saw him give him just a little bit of room, just enough to calculate his movement, and then right back to the action as they get across the line.
And Stephen Jarbo is part of the AOM team, which they are absolutely shredding in the sim. And Ethan Petraku is working as a drifting instructor. He's also a VDC driver, and you got him in the chase now. Jarbo in the lead, coming in with a nice initiation, keeping that steady angle, keeping that midline on that first inner clip, and then going into the outer zone 2. Beautiful fill out, and look at Petraku putting the dog in a dog fight as he is diving in. Oh, he lost in the smoke, falls out of the inner clip as they cross that line.
That was a really aggressive chance to just try and turn around and deliver service back to sender. So here we see them come into the first corner, doing a great job getting in. We see an immediate effort to stay just as close. He knows he has to keep an even tighter amount of proximity if he wants this to pay off. Coming here on this outside zone, does a good job surging, cuts the line a little bit to close the door on him as they get through this touch and go. This is where we see him drop off. This is where I said a lot of runs are going to be made and broken as they go through the inside zone. He drops off just as they're coming across the line. So great tempo and proximity, but is it going to be enough for the judges?
Well, we're about to find out. You got
And then we got to at least see the full runs too. So I mean, coming off that previous one, unfortunately, don't know what happened there with the start. Sometimes with it being virtual, I know lag can sometimes be an issue. So it's always good to invest in a great internet provider. Can't name drop because no one's paying us. So you know, if you want to be promoted as an internet provider, then you know, hawk up the cash. Drift Masters isn't afraid to put some names out there, but not for free.
Here's Jarbo gets the win with the RX-7, and man, oh man, great driving from Steven Jarbo. We'll see him in the top 16. Next drivers we'll see coming up is Vitaly Isayev and Gert Kubarsep. Gert Kubarsep and Vitaly are top-notch
Leave
drivers.
it to the Americans to just
too.
choke on these names.
Well, I practice hard on this. Well, last year I did have the chat, and I do have the chat up while we're talking. Love interacting with the chat. They were helping me out with some names last year. It was fantastic. But you have Gert Kubarsep, who is going to be in the BMW E36, and then Vitaly Isayev is going to be in the Z4, which is he's going to be in the lead now. So Vitaly Isayev coming in hot, especially last round.
I'm gonna let you handle the names.
Here comes Gert as his Team Awake BMW into the chase as Vitaly Isayev dives into that first in the clip. Huge angle from Gert that slows him down and makes him fall behind. Now he has to reel him in as they're going to outer zone 2. There's Vitaly Isayev filling out that track the way he needs to do, what the judges love, as Gert Kubarsep is filling out the track with him towards the end of that lap.
Yeah, on that run, I saw some great surges by the chase driver and then also a little bit of correction. So here on the lead, we see this initiation, great surge by the BMW, a little bit of an over angle as he goes onto the engine, so he has to correct there and reel him back in on this outside zone. Here he really closes the door as they dive into the inside. This outside touch and go and transition to this turn 7, we get to see again a mimicking, but a great read from the BMW as he surges and across the line they go. So a little bit of an over angle on that first corner, it looks like, but after that, he seemed to get right back into it.
I feel like he needed to over angle so he didn't go mock Jesus into that dude's door, but it's definitely that was a definitely pucker factor moment for a chase driver, Gert. Now he's going to be in the lead. They're going back to the line, and Vitaly is going to be in the chase. We got the chat getting excited. Here we go. Gert Kubarsep in the lead. BMW coming in with a nice initiation, getting right to angle as Vitaly Isayev transitions right behind him. His headlights are on, getting door to door while they're going through the second inner clip, and then transitioning to this final turn as Vitaly Isayev is getting that proximity throughout the whole lap.
That was awesome. That just goes to show what someone with the name Vitaly can do when they choose to drive instead of end up facing potential prison charges in the Philippines. As you see this initiation, doing a great job on the surge, doing really close proximities. It comes through really smooth, not a lot of corrections. You actually see some sparks come off the bottom of the car there. Very cool as it comes to that outside touch and go. And then when you come through the transition, again, a great read. So far, I want to say it looked a little bit smoother. That's really up to the judges. But both chase runs were so good. I mean, the level and caliber of driving in this series is already impressing me. So it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, the Virtual Drift Masters, you have VDC, which is a really high level competition. Last year, Virtual Drift Masters opened up the competition to see if anybody wanted to join, and those top drivers actually transitioned to 2025. Left for Vitaly Isayev, right for Gert. And it looks like Vitaly Isayev gets the win and moves on. Woo. Our next drivers is Cameron Mustard, who's in the Skyline R32 from Scotland, and Krzysztof Raza. He's going to be in that BMW E92. Cameron Mustard run round 3 last year of Virtual Drift Masters. He's a spicy driver, like spicy brown mustard.
Well, I'm excited already because as an American, if there's one word I do know how to pronounce, it is mustard. We put it on everything over here. So excited to see this run. So far, I have not seen a bad run from any of the drivers.
No. Well, Alec, Let's take. I'll have you take it away since you like the mustard.
Here we go. All right, let's see. We've got Mustard in the lead. We're going to see hopefully a great run to continue the momentum here. Initiation into the first corner. Let's see how it's going to go. Big, fast entry. Great job proximity on that first clip. Past the touch and go, keeping the speed up. Nice whip to angle as they dip into that long outside sweeping zone. And here we go. This is the fast part, setting up for that turn 7. We're going to be watching that turn all day. Great dive, great read, good proximity. Falls a little bit further back on across the line.
Oh, man.
Like clockwork,
comes
these drivers are just all locked in.
Yeah, Mustard was super fast, and then diving into his power alley and then snapping right to angle, using that left foot brake so he can angle up into that inner clip too. But look at my man over here, Shish Stops, just diving in and being as aggressive as possible. But Mustard was just having so much speed and momentum throughout the track. Well, we'll have them switch sides. Let's see if Cameron Mustard can keep his nickname, the spicy mustard kind. I still have to send him a case of brown mustard after the first time I've competited with him. He's going to be in the chase now. Rasa in the lead. Shishtops out here coming in with a nice smooth initiation, going to interclip 1, beautiful fill out right to angle, and then now the power alley, huge angle. Woo! And he falls off of track. Oh no, it's definitely going to be deemed an incomplete because he is slowed down to the point where Mustard made contact.
Oh man, unfortunately, I mean, Mustard was ready to really drizzle on the Mustard in that chase run, and unfortunately it couldn't complete because the lead driver ended up taking a trip through the Dakar Rally into the stand. So we see him right here is where he steps out, and then as soon as you step out and you have that much momentum and you lose the grip and forward bite and friction that you really need from the track surface, I mean, you're just along for the ride at that point. He does a good job recovering, getting back on track, but it's going to be too little too late, and unfortunately another condiment takes the win. Likely. I'm not a judge, but I gotta assume.
Left for Mustard, right for Stops. And Cameron Mustard gets the win and moves on to the top 16. Oh,
there we
my
go.
Goodness.
Never doubted him for a second.
We have our next battle is Zach O'Sullivan. He is a back-to-back VDC champion, 2023-2024. As well as an ESDA champion in 2021. He was an absolute slayer in that BMW. And the next person, you have Peter Palinkowicz, also known as Peter Proximeter. He's going to be in that RTR Mustang. And this is going to be a fun battle. Peter has been an absolute slayer with that Mustang. And Zach O'Sullivan, you see Peter on the bottom right, he's going to be in the chase. Waiting for the lights. The lights are green. Zach O'Sullivan in the lead, coming from America. As Peter Proximeter is right there, trying to gain that proximity right off the rip. And Zach O'Sullivan is holding that e-brake so he could get back on that zone and diving into that second inner clip. And here comes Peter Proximeter being super aggressive in that Ford Mustang, snapping the angle in the rear as he is going to the final outer zone. A sigh of relief from Peter, too.
Fun run to watch, but it looks like a little bit of wrestling behind the wheel as we come into that first corner. Lots of speed again, doing a great job keeping that composure as they come through here. And then that Mustang just looking to operate and get close. I mean, not as close as we've seen in these previous runs. BMW, meanwhile, up front, keeping good composure. The Mustang seems like he's playing a lot of strategic catch-up and then making some corrections to get close. So definitely some opportunity here for the BMW on the chase run to start off with a little bit of a better chase in the beginning. Mustang, though, great job wrestling the car around the track. I mean, it is a long wheelbase car, so its strength is really in those longer corners. So we'll see if the Americanese can follow it up in the chase.
And Zach O'Sullivan is also a spotter in Formula Drift as well for Ryan Littoral. Here's Peter. He's going to be in the lead. Lights are green. Ford Mustang versus BMW. American Muscle versus German Engineering, as Peter Proximiter, I think he fell off of that first touch and go, and it was a very shallow line on outer zone 1, and then filling out outer zone 2. Look at Zach O'Sullivan just straight bullying Peter Proximiter in the chase, pushing him through the track as they're finishing off this lap. This is a fast track, and I haven't seen anybody bully like that.
Yeah, O'Sullivan looks like he's doing a great job both in the lead and the chase. We talked about it, and I said it earlier, that there's an opportunity here that the Mustang left on the table in this chase position, and O'Sullivan made full use of it. Like you called it earlier, too, that first zone looked like the Mustang fell off a little bit. He does a good job getting deep the rest of this time, but by the rest of the track, O'Sullivan is now locked in, lasered on target, and does a great job getting across the line. So, I mean, from where we're sitting, it looks like the BMW might have had the slight advantage coming off of that run. We'll have to see what the judges say about it.
Left for O'Sullivan, right for Peter. And Zach O'Sullivan gets the win and moves on to the top 16. Absolutely slaying it in this competition. Our next drivers will be Krzysztof Rapina, who's a two-time DCGP champion, and Martinez Austriaca, the ESDA champion, a brother to Darius Austriaca, which we'll see later on in this competition. You got the brother-on-brother battles. I've seen them both battle each other. It's fantastic to watch, Martinez and Darius, but they have to get there in this competition. You have Martinez in the BMW E36 and Krzysztof Rapina in the S14. Krzysztof here, and Martinez scratching his head, waiting for the lights, as we are going into Martinez driving with no hands. Holy smokes, here comes Krzysztof Rapina in the lead as he is going through to that second outer zone, and then here comes that second inner clip. Look at Martinez Austriaca with no hands getting close proximity as they're going to the final outer zones. Beautiful driving.
Oh my goodness. And ladies and gentlemen, we just made history. That was the first run ever driven completely with Neuralink. No, actually, it's probably just technical error, but we'll just look at this replay here. S14 diving in, fast speed, not a super ton of angle, but uses that to his advantage. Just keep up as much speed as possible. He's going to have to shave off that speed in this outside zone, which he does beautifully without any stuttering. As he comes around here, they're putting a lot of work in for the chase driver to really keep his momentum up, to close the door on him. He does get close, and it seems like just a pretty even, fair run. Definitely going to be competitive for the chase driver and when they switch around, but very, very fast. And the S14 did a good job of keeping speed up as much as possible.
Martinez is a fantastic driver, and you saw there, he was just mirroring angle, just following the lead car the way you need to be. That's exactly what you have to do as a chase driver, and we're going to wait for the lights. We're going to have Krzysztof Rapina in the chase now in the S14, and Martinez Austriaca in the BMW coming in with a nice initiation. A little bit shallow on that first touch and go, but he fills out outer zone 1. Here comes Krzysztof Rapina diving in, almost nailing him from what we saw from this camera angle. Huge angle as we're going to this final inner clip to the final outer zone. Krzysztof Rapina doing a great job representing Escuco.
Yeah, I mean, great run here. You can see the S14 is just so quick. I mean, coming off the line, they come in, and even on the fast sweep, we're doing a great job on the proximity. As they transition here, BMW doing a great job getting deep into the zone. S14 actually has to make a quick correction here and get back into it as they come into this last corner. The BMW does a great job flicking into angle. That's one big advantage for BMWs. I just noticed that both virtually and in real life. They just do such a great job with all that side bite, just flicking into angle and immediately getting it back on the gas again.
And we got a clarification. That was his brother, Martinez's brother, in the camera.
Okay, there we go. So not a record of using Neuralink to drift the virtual car.
No, it wasn't. But Martinez is absolute slayer. That doesn't undermine his skill from the battle. Oh man, the judges are going to be looking at this, figuring out who made more mistakes. With these battles coming up here, it's just super hard. Give us, what do you look at on these battles here? What would you be looking at?
So speed is important. The S14 is so quick that for a moment I thought it was an F14 Tomcat, but Unfortunately, you have to do what you can to just both measure your speed and look for opportunity to incorporate angle as much as possible. So if the S14 is coming into these big sweeping corners, maintaining a ton of speed, not as much angle, and then when it gets to the outside zone, having to sacrifice all that speed anyways, you may be better off losing some of that speed, throwing more angle at it earlier on. We'll see what the judges say, and it's a one more time, so we're going to get to see them go back and run it back. And we've talked about this before, we've announced together actually, Tiny, is when we see these guys compete, you never want to leave it in the judges' hands. You want the reason you won to be so obvious, and as announcers watching this, even though we're not professional judges, I agree with the judges and could say that I don't really think I saw one driver really completely take the win on that one. They both had some great driving aspects, and they also had some areas where they could have done better. I'd like to see the S14 manage the pace to be more consistent throughout the run, meaning if you're killing too much speed in the later corner, maybe use those earlier corners to be more opportunistic about some angle. So that way you don't have to kill off as much speed into those outer zones. And for the BMW, while he was great at flicking the angle, there was a little bit of stuttering, a little bit of corrections that could have been cleaned up. So both of the drivers have some homework to do on these next couple runs, and I'm curious to see if they're going to take those pointers.
And you saw there with the vehicles, this Virtual Drift Masters is also sponsored by Strom Wheels. And here we go. Martinez, Austriaca, and Krzysztof Rapina. The one more time battle. Rapina's in the lead, coming in with a nice initiation. Here comes Martinez as he is diving in, shallowing up the line so he could keep the proximity alive, falling out of outer zone 2, but now diving into the pocket of Rapina and transitioning to the final turn. Whoa, Martinez getting doors all the way through that battle at the last point.
Yeah, so automatically I thought I saw a much better run from the S14. Here in the beginning, it looked like we had a little bit of a correction for the BMW. You can see a little bit of wobbling right here and then swaying, but he gets right back into it here, and they use the opportunity. BMW is going to have to cut that line a little bit, which you see right there, just to clean up close to the S14. But the S14, meanwhile, just so smooth on this lead run, I want to say. He does get a better angle, and he does it in a way that isn't so snappy. It's just very fluid. So we'll have to see what happens on this second run, but so far, immediate improvements, I think, on both ends.
Yeah, we're going to see Martinez out here trying to put a better lead. He does a great lead run here. This is going to be really tough for the judges. You got these two drivers absolutely stellar, and Martinez is in that BMW. Krzysztof Rapina is in the S14. And we're waiting for the lights. Here we go. Martinez Austriaca coming in here and coming in with a nice smooth initiation in that first touch and go, filling out outer zone 1, transitioning, holding that e-brake so he could float into outer zone 2, and then lights off those tires, diving into inner clip 2, transitioning out outer zones all the way through to the final turn. My goodness, beautiful lead run. He was a little bit shallower in that last inner clip compared to Rapina, but what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, the BMW is so fast out of the gate this time around. Does a great job locking into the course to the point where the S14, I think, gets a little too greedy. Right here, you see him surge. That looked like there might have been a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. Either that or the S14 had to bail out because it was likely going to result in contact. So you see the S14 have to drop back and then make attempts to reel back in. And meanwhile, the BMW is simply on rails. So just like you, I wouldn't want to be the judges, but I also kind of don't want to be me right now. I bet on a horse in the Kentucky Derby yesterday based off of a tip I got on TikTok, and now I either need to disappear or borrow a ungodly amount of money. But for now, we're here enjoying some good drifting, and I'm excited to see what the judges are going to say.
Really, Kentucky Derby? There you go. Slide it left for Rapina, right for Austriaca. And Krzysztof Rapina gets the win and moves on to the top 16. I saw I love you, Tiny, in chat. Love you too, buddy. That Kentucky Derby. I didn't know Kentucky Derby and drifting would ever come in the same sentence. But we have our next drivers coming up. This is something probably you haven't seen before in real world. You got Nick Hang driving a Ford Sierra and Adrian Roncero with the A90 Supra.
I see some really cool cars out there. I think earlier we saw a, was I right to see that that was a Ford Escort in the paddock?
Yeah, that's the Sierra. It looks similar to the Ford Escort, and that thing is sick.
Very
But
cool.
I think this might be a skip real quick. We're going to go to Nico Stella. Nico the Kid Stella, he's going to be in that Z. And the 400Z, and we
VR
have
headset.
Joachim Haug. Yeah, Joachim is an absolute slayer, competing in Norway Drift Championship, same car as in real life. So he's driving his real car in the sim. And here's Nico the Kid Stella coming in with that 400Z, getting into that first inner clip, and then holding that e-brake so he can light off his tires in outer zone 2 and diving into the second inner clip. Beautiful fill out. Here's Joachim Haug as he is diving in with that E30 and rubbing the tire on the door of that Escuco livery. There's going to be some tire marks on that K.
There we go. We got a great old school versus new school battle here as the Z comes in. Very, very good on the inside. The BMW does a little bit of a job dropping back here, and he's going to need to have to reel in. I think he gave himself a little bit too much homework to do, but as soon as he's able to step up to the plate in the latter portion of the run, we see him do a great job diving into this last zone. I mean, that was extremely exciting to watch, coming around and just staying glued to his door around one of the most technical corners. So while he dropped a little bit further back in the beginning than I would have liked to see, he definitely cleaned it up and I think made it worth it in the end of the run.
Yeah, and you got Nico the Kid Stella. He's a young buck. He also was DCGP Season 10 champion. And Joachim Haug, he's in the VR headset. And I'm waiting for one day to him to put googly eyes on the front of it. But here we go. Joachim is coming in with that E30, snapping the angle into diving into that first inner clip, and then filling out outer zone 1. Huge angle going to outer zone 2. Look at Nico getting right to the door of Joachim as they're going to the final turn. A huge surge from Nico the Kid Stella, lighting off the tires right behind him. Beautiful lead run from Joachim, but my goodness, the aggression from Nico.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, immediate amount of swagger from the E30 coming around the corners here. I mean, huge angle, huge flicks. Does a great job just kind of almost backing the back of the car into these outside zones. The Z doing a great job at just reading, but I think he understands that he's driving behind a driver who's just willing to let it all hang out, and that puts you in a compromising position as a chase driver. So I think very well handled in the long run. It's going to be a little bit less easy to figure out who's going to have won this one. So we'll have to see what the judges have to say, because right away I honestly could not tell who did a better job there. The BMW was very fun to watch, though. I've got to say, that's got to be the most flick to angle, high angle, most aggressive entries that I think we've seen so far in this competition.
I love watching the E30s run, especially in real life too. They're really exciting to see how old school could battle with the newer generation bodies. But here we go. We have right for Haug, left for Stella, and Nico the Kid Stella gets the win and moves on. Beautiful, beautiful performance from both of these drivers.
Yeah, I think we saw just a big gangster, driving from the E30, but the biggest problem is that first run, I think, is what really killed him. He made a big correction in the chase position. He ended up falling too far back, and while playing catch-up is impressive, it's not ideally what the judges are looking for. And well, meanwhile, even though he did a great job in the lead position, the Z was just able to stay much closer to him. So moving on to our next round, we were just talking about that Sierra. Now it looks like he's headed out there to the starting grid. And I'm excited to see just the car out there in general, but he's going to be going against some new school action in that Super A90, another old school versus new school battle.
Yeah, we got the Sierra versus the A90. Nick Hang in the lead. He's in that Sierra. Adrian Roncero, Escuco team member, in the chase with the A90. Home track here. Let's see if the Spaniard can knock off the guy from the UK. Nick Hang coming in with a big Scandinavian flick, going into that first touch and go, and then going to outer zone 1, and then transitioning, holding that e-brake, going to outer zone 2. Good fill out. Adrian Roncero is struggling behind him. You see a lot of corrections in the chase, but now he's able to dial it in as they're finally finishing this lap. Beautiful lead lap. I don't know if that's a borderline 3-point initiation.
Yeah, the Sierra did a great job, but right there you see the entry line, so I'm curious to know what the judges are going to say, if he feinted a little bit too wide or not. But if that's not an issue, the rest of this run was absolutely perfect from the Sierra. It looked very good. The Super seemed like he was doing a little bit of a struggle, like you mentioned, to try and figure out how to get close, how to take action, when to surge, and it looked like that really was a problem on that second outer zone. So it's still anybody's game. Anything can happen in drifting, but so far, I mean, the Sierra came in super aggressive and did a great first run, in my opinion. A lot of old school versus new school battles. It seems like that's what we're wondering, both last battle and this battle. I mean, the internet's wondering who would win versus 100 men and one gorilla, but for us, it's who's going to win old school versus new school.
Adrian Roncero in the lead, Nick Hang in the chase. Let's see how Nick Hang hangs onto the door of Adrian Roncero as Adrian Roncero just leaves him in the smoke. Beautiful initiation. Let's see if Nick Hang will reel him in as he is going through this outer touch and go, or outer zone, going to the second inner clip, transitioning to the final zone. Huge surge from Nick Hang, rubbing that tire on the quarter panel of Adrian Roncero.
Yeah, I think the Super with the longer wheelbase is just, I think he knows that his best advantage here is if he's going to try and just put some distance on the Sierra, so he does the best he can to get away. The Sierra knows when to surge, and he seems to drop into the line, uses it to cut the line where he can just to get some distance on him and get closer. And here especially we see a dive really deep on the inside from the Sierra, but overall a great chase. But the big question is going to be whether or not it's enough.
Yeah, well, I wonder if the judges are gonna look at the speed of Adrian Roncero and see if he was just trying to run away from him, which is another big thing with drifting. You as a lead driver, you don't want to run away from your chase. You want to give them like a lead that they could chase. All right. So it looks like the judges have come to the decision here. Nick Hang for the left, Roncero in the right. And it looks like it's going to be Nick Hang getting the win. And moving on, after this, they're going to be, so on a sim event, compared to what we've experienced in the real world, we usually have pit crews, changing tires, getting situated. For the sim, we actually have to do server restarts. So we got the left side of the bracket of our top 16 here. Alec, what are you looking excited for the battles coming up on the top 16 on the left side of the bracket?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I think is going to pay off for a lot of these drivers is that if you're hesitant at all, this track is going to punish you. So I'm looking for the drivers that are really going to separate themselves, because it takes just an extra chapter in skill level, I think, to get to that point where you can understand that the best way to handle coming into a corner really quickly and the best way to handle a large decel is to get to a decent amount of angle and get there quickly and set yourself up in angle. You don't want to set yourself up while you're in transition. So what I mean is, if the car is still rotating and you're trying to diminish that speed and you're trying to set the angle and you're trying to do too many things at once while the weight is transferring in the car, it's going to be much harder for you to get in there. And it's the opposite of what your instinct as a driver makes you want to do. Your instinct as a driver is going to be to try and interpret that as the opportunity to be cautious while you're transitioning and do all your setup there. But in reality, you need to focus on just getting the weight transfer done, get yourself to angle. You can decel much more efficiently once you're at angle, and then look for the opportunity to be on line. And these cars now make enough grip that as soon as the car's rotated enough and your back tires are in the zone, you want to light up those tires ASAP, because it's going to help you put, force against that outer centrifugal force. And so that's going to keep you hooked. And I think we've seen some of that pay off for a lot of these drivers. We saw that earlier in the E30. And again, I'm sorry I can't remember the names. I'm going to get to know everybody. Maybe we can make like a GoFundMe, and I'll meet with a speech pathologist and I'll learn all these names. But the idea is the E30 and some of these other cars, you see them flick all the way to full lock and just get back into it and light up those tires again. And you can see the flick happens very quickly. And then when they're back at full lock and they light up those tires, it just seems to pull that lateral G-force, and they are just locked in like they're on rails onto those outer zones at that point. So it's not what feels right as a driver. It feels really weird because it just feels like you're sending yourself into oblivion if you flick when you haven't killed off any of your speed yet. But it is definitely the best thing to do, and you can even use some of that left foot brake mid-transition. So so now we can see all the drivers out there on track. I don't know if this is practice now or it was earlier, but
so this is actual live practice. Though they have the drivers test the server out when they load in, and you see some crazy tandems here. A lot of the times it's teammates driving. Sometimes they'll pair up with the guy that they're going to battle with so they can study. And the virtual wise, there are spotters for these drivers too, compared to the real world. So if you're comparing real life and virtual, the only thing that's really different, I would say, is they don't have to pay for track and tires. A lot of the data that they put into it is to simulate the real world. You got Alan Hines. He's going to be coming up here. He's going to be in that nice green S14.3, two-time VDC champion and DCGP champion. And Emilius Valieka, he is a wild card for this round from Lithuania, driving the F22. Here's Alan Hines. Very focused. He's an absolute stone cold killer when he's driving on the sim. And look at that, going into inner clip 1, beautiful fill out, and outer zone 2 is a great fill out as well. Then diving all the way through. Look at Valieka as he is getting right there to the door of Alan Hines, and then rubbing the front tire on the quarter panel of Alan Hines unfazed as Alan Hines just looks at his second monitor.
That chase run was so good. I mean, both of these drivers doing a great job, but to see the BMW just glued right there the entire run was fantastic. We see a little bit of separation on the fast part. We expect that on almost every single run just because how quick they're going. But right here, just a shadow on that S14.3. Great job, though, from the S chassis. I mean, nothing could really be taken from him there. Clean job, gets into the points, gets deep enough into the zones, but the BMW is just right there on him.
That was absolutely great, especially like a wild card coming in here to change up. We have Alex O'Hara as another wild card. He's going to be battling Darius Austriaca later on, but wild cards coming into the virtual Drift Masters to shake up the standings is great to see. And you have Emilius now going to be in the lead. He's in the F22, and we have Alan Hines in the S14.3 coming from Ireland. As he is gonna get right there on the chase. Whoa! Right close proximity to Emilius, and F22 gets right to angle all the way through to outer zone 1 and 2. And now he is going to his final turn. Look at Alan Hines using the angle to slow himself down so he can close in that proximity. My goodness.
Those are some incredible runs by both drivers. I got to say, it's going to be a really tough one to figure out who the winner is. BMW jumps in, does a great job getting that outside zone, the S chassis right there as they transition in. We see the same thing in this lead as we saw the S chassis do on the other one, is both getting the full lock, full angle right away through the transition, and great read through this last section here. S chassis might have done even slightly better there on that last corner than when the BMW was in the chase. Great all-around run on both the lead and the chase for both drivers.
Man, that was diabolical. Like, that's something that you don't really see often, as aggressive, a wild card and a top tier driver here like this, just shredding. We have left for Alan Hines, right for Emilius. And Alan Hines gets the win and moves on. Holy smokes. Do not hang your head. You did a fantastic job in that F22. I hope to see you in the future. Well, we could get a quick rundown on that. Was a really close battle. You think we could get a judge's discretion on that? That would be great.
Of course you can. I really need to say, as you've been saying, that this battle was really awesome. It was really good job from both drivers. Unfortunately, we are the bad guys here now, and we need to choose who was just tiny little bit better, and that was Alan. But Emilius did really good job. If you look on the tiny things, He was losing ground a little bit on his chase position, where he needed to cut a little bit of the track in the first corner. Had a little bit of bobble at outer zone 4. But anyways, we really liked what we saw.
Yeah, no. So thank you for that explanation. Next one, we have Juna Waronen with that Mercedes 190 Black Smoke team member. That's a diesel engine, Simeon, on there. And you have our second driver, Simon Sandman, coming in the chase with that BMW as he gets right close to proximity, mirrors the angle, and then falls behind in the chase. Looks like a tire drop on outer zone 2 from the lead driver in the Mercedes as they're going to the final outer zones and final turn of this track. Simon Sandman.
Yeah, we definitely need to look really close at this, and I think so will the judges. So we see the Black Smoke at 190 jump out there, and I think we saw a little bit of contact out here. So we see the outside zone that I think the BMW may have clipped. Oh, didn't clip, backed up, and then let him through, and then we see the tire drop happen. So a little bit of a weird thing going on there in the first part of the run. It looked like the BMW, I thought from the other angle, it almost looked like contact, but the BMW just dropped back. I think he just got a little bit too greedy, got too close, and then needed to recreate space. And then the late transition from the 190 just sent him off, dropping a tire. After that, it looks like things get cleaned up. But that first part of the run is definitely where the sloppiness is, which means that's where the opportunity is to make things better on this upcoming run. And very cool to see the Black Smoke Racing Mercedes out there. I mean, if you go on Instagram, if you're on any kind of car algorithm, it's at least popped up once on your feed. And then Sandman, though, doing a great job driving. Sandman is the name of the horse I bet on in the Kentucky Derby. So I was done talking about that, but I didn't realize someone's name was the same as the horse that I had put money on that came dead last. Anyways, going into this next run here, BMW, we come into the fast section here. 190 doing a great job. BMW scrubbing that speed, giving the 190 a chance to get right up on their doors. They come through this long touch and go. And as we see this dive here, they can be able to stay close. Great job on the read. Mercedes knows that he's got to make up for the correction. He does really aggressive. And you talked about spotters. So, I mean, what are some of the stuff that you think is the feedback that the spotter might have given on that previous run?
I think the spotter would have told him, hey, the lead driver went 2 tires off, do a killer lead lap, as you see Simon Sandman just rubbing that sleepy dust into that 190's eyes while he's going through this whole track and doing a great job, giving them the door. And I think that was the crucial point as a spotter. I say, hey, send it, get every zone as best as possible. If you do a clean lead lap, you'll succeed. I think that's what I would say as a spotter. But we have right for Sandman, left for Warren, and it looks like it's one more time. Man, you as a spotter, what would you say to Sandman?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing here is that I kind of understand why the one more time happened, because that first run wasn't just the 190 falling off uncontested by any contact. There's also Sandman kind of like overbiting and chomping into how much space he had to work with and then having to recreate space. And I think this creates a mark against both of their runs. And then from that point, they both did great. So I imagine the judges at this point were trying to weigh mistakes. And unfortunately, I think they both made pretty equal mistakes in the eyes of the judges. So I think that's why we're going to see them drive again. And I think the spotters are going to have to just really advise them to, hey, remember, a clean run is a winning run. Consistency is everything. Everybody wants to go for the baller moves, the really heavy flicks and angle. But the biggest thing is that, don't go full. You need to make sure that you have a clean run, because one mistake by the other driver is all it takes if you have a perfect run.
And here we go. Our one more time battle. Sandman in the chase. Warren in the lead with that 190 Mercedes as he is getting right to angle, going to interclip 1. Here comes Sandman, giving him the room, now surging into the pocket of the 190 and getting close proximity through outer zone 2 as they're going through this nice forceful transition, going to the final outer zone, and does a great job rubbing that front tire on that door.
Yeah, that was a great run by both drivers. I mean, what's really cool about the virtual series is that you just get to reset and then run the run immediately again. So we see 190 doing a great job getting out. Sandman right here does a great job just kind of setting his car up, getting in the throttle, and then from here on out, he seems to stay really close. 190, though, staying locked, not a lot of bobbling or wobbling, doing a great job as they come through that last inside zone. and then Sandman once again right on his door across the line. So very close run. This second run is really going to count for both drivers. They need to make sure that this one is where they really capitalize and set themselves apart from the other.
Yeah, and Simon Sandman, he's going to be competing in the Norwegian Drift Championship in the Real World Series, which is exciting to see him going from virtual to real life. We'll see him lead this second half of this battle. Simon Sandman coming in with a nice initiation, going to that first outer zone, good fill out transitioning, holding the e-brake. Oh, that looks like a possible tire drop. Going into outer zone 2, but then diving in. Look at the 190 from Warren as he is surging in, but now falling a little bit behind. Another surge towards the end of that lap.
Wow, I mean, you mentioned whether or not you might have seen a tire drop, so we'll have to take a look at that because that may be the only thing there is to point out on this run is a fault on either driver. I mean, both do a great job getting through the zones. Here we see them get very deep. It looks very close, but I don't think there's a tire drop there after all. And as they come through here, I mean, it depends on what the judges are really considering a tire drop. I don't know if they call the rumble strip a tire drop. I'd assume not, unless it's beyond that. But, well, honestly, that was a phenomenal run. The judges are going to have to really scratch their heads and figure out who won this one.
Damn, man. Simon Sandman has been around the sim community for a very long time. A very top-notch competitor. Great. We have a lot of giggles and laughs at times whenever we talk to each other. So excited to see him go into the real world. And you were saying that 190 Black Smoke team member of the same Mercedes in real life in the sim is awesome to see as well. Sim versus real life car culture combining is fantastic. And it looks like Warren gets the win and moves on. That's the end of Simon Sandman for this round. And we're gonna
after all this excitement, having.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, just after all this excitement, I'm having to hydrate, and I'm drinking some excellent spring water, but I won't share the name of it because they're not paying Drift Masters. But again, I mean, hey guys, like, whoever's water this is, I could really like it. I could be telling so many people about this water right now.
Here we go. You got Louis Pasquini. He's going to be in the lead. And we have our Stephen Hatcher in the chase. Lucas Pasquini coming in with a BMW, coming in with a nice fill out on the first inner clip, filling out outer zone 1, and then holding that e-brake, locking them tires so he could get to outer zone 2. Stephen Hatcher just sucking himself right back into that Big Duck Club BMW, but then falls behind. Now a huge surge towards the end of that lap. That slinky effect, I think that's going to be a crucial deducting point for what the judges look here.
Yeah, slinky effect is a great name for it. I mean, we see him bobbing kind of like in and out angle-wise and surge-wise throughout the entire run. Meanwhile, the BMW doing a pretty good job just doing a textbook lead run as he gets to these two outside zones. He comes through on the inside. The only thing I saw on the BMW is it looks like right here we see him just overshoot that inside clip a little bit. But the S chassis, while doing a great job, getting close, trying to make a surge, it's just it seemed very not in full control of the car. So I'd like to see a lot more smoothness, and the aggression's there, but when you see a BMW just kind of locking in and keeping things steady, it almost highlights every correction that you make to an even higher degree, and I think it definitely stood out there.
Now we have them switching side. Lucas Pasquini in the chase, Stephen Hatcher in the lead, getting a little jump so he could keep close proximity on this run-up. Stephen Hatcher coming in with a nice flick into the first inner clip, but he looks like he was shallow on it. Oh, Stephen Hatcher, huge correction in the chase. He is going all the way through. Stephen Hatcher does a great job. That was Lucas Pasquini in the chase, excuse me, with the AOM Big Duck Club BMW as they're going through the final turn. Man, correction, man.
Yeah, it looks like right here, that might have been a moment where I think the driver's probably beating himself up a bit because he had such a great advantage, in my opinion, coming out of that first run. And then right here, he starts to commit the same sin that we saw the S13 doing in the lead. And now the S13's taking his notes and doing a great job just keeping the driving clean this time in the lead. With that clean air in front of him, he's just using as much of the opportunity as possible to just put in a textbook run. So, I mean, it's tough because in my opinion, the first run, the S13 just had a lot of corrections the entire time. There was a big correction from the BMW on the second one. S13 did a good job cleaning it up. The BMW could still walk away with it, but if it does go one more time, then I think that driver is going to know exactly where he threw that potential advantage away.
All right, we have left for Pasquini, right for Hatcher. And Hatcher gets the win and moves on to the top 16.
There we go. So S13 cleaning up. I mean, he had a great lead run that second time around. I mean, and even though it was a little bit wobbly and he was making corrections on the first run, he kept the proximity. He kept things moving and flowing. So, yeah, I mean, that second one, I think the BMW, it was really the differentiator was that second run.
You saw Brandon Patrick's BMW over there, and right there, that RTR Mustang is Reese Tatterson. Now we have Darius Austriaca. You did see him earlier. He was driving with no hands. There he is again. And Alex O'Hara is going to be in the lead. Or actually in the chase. Austriaca is going to be in the lead. Here comes Darius coming in with the BMW. Nice initiation, a little bit shallow on that first inner clip, but now going into his outer zone. Dive again. Look at Alex O'Hara with that GT86, rubbing that front tire on the door of Darius Austriaca, now giving him some room so he can mirror the angle through the final outside zone.
Yeah, let's take a look at that run. It looked like both drivers, again, doing a great job. I mean, the level of driving in this is just so close and so competitive. It really comes down to the small minutia of both runs about who's going to walk away the winner. I mean, you have a great job on the surge here. It looks like the FRS does a good job just staying close throughout the entire run, but the BMW is so smooth. Does a great job clicking the angle, still comes through on that inside clip. And, yeah, I'm impressed. I've got to see, for sure, I think the second run is going to, again, be what matters the most. I mean, and when this first run goes well, even though it's a great sigh of relief for both drivers, it just means that now there's only one run to really decide who's the definitive winner. So when nothing bad happens on either side, both spotters just pretty much are probably telling them, just run it, just keep going, because both of you guys did it clean. One of you guys has to do better on the second one.
This is heat 12 of 16. This is the second run. Darius the Don Austriaca versus Alex O'Hara. Alex O'Hara in that GT86. Darius in the BMW. As Darius coming in, gonna surge right as close as possible, going into his power alley in the outer zone 2. Oh, huge angle and checkup from the chase driver, so he could get all the way close. We got to see what happened there. I don't know if that was the lead driver's fault, but look at Darius getting super aggressive.
Here we go on the replay. We've got the FRS up front, BMW in the chase position. We see a little bit of a gap on that initiation just as far as them getting some distance. So the BMW immediately has some homework to do to get reeled back in. Here we see that checkup. It looks like it was just a little bit of an unsteady settling for both cars to get into it, and then they both get collected again. So no contact, clean entry, but there's kind of a little bit of a stutter for both cars as they dive in. And then again, the BMW right there. I mean, these driving, I think one thing I noticed about the virtual series is that there are a couple less elements, and you know, you're pretty much driving every time with almost like perfect like conditions. So everything is out of the way, and it's now down to just what is the skill level that you have behind the wheel. And these guys are all able to hit such high potentials, or you know, use so much of their potential on the sim. So I think back-to-back runs, this versus real life, I think it just means so much closer battles, so much better overall runs. It really puts the judges in a position to have to keep their pencils, you know, on paper every single time.
And it looks
there
like
we
Darius
go.
Yep, Darius Austriaca gets the win and moves on. And yeah, you're exactly right with that. You don't have any of the outer elements. We've been in the monsoon weather of Florida commentating an event, and it gets dried up, the track gets dried up, and then it gets perfect, and then rains again. So you're definitely hitting the nail on the head on that.
Well, there's other elements that I think a lot of drivers deal with in real life too. You've got things like sometimes cars aren't running right, they have something broken with them, you know. So this is really what you could see in like the perfect drift event, and you're guaranteed that level of entertainment and show when it comes to the drift series that's virtual. So There you go, Tiny, take it away.
There we have Brandon Patrick in the lead, Vestamanis in the chase. As you see him in the 3-monitor setup on the bottom right. Here comes Brandon Patrick getting a good fill out on second outer zone, a little bit shallow on inner clip 2. Vestamanis with that RTR going all the way through, and that's not RTR, the Von Gittin one. That's Racing Team Riga.
Very good replay here, and I love that the chase driver had a Burger King hat on. As long as you don't try to get onto an airline wearing it, I don't see why there'd be an issue. But here we go, the Z4 getting into the outside zone, doing a great job diving in. Lots of speed, gives lots of homework to do for that chase driver as they go into that outside zone. He's going to have to cut the line, which of course we see him do right there, just so we can get close. He had to make that sacrifice to get close, and he uses that opportunity very well here by not letting him get away again as they come across the line. That Z4 is just quick, and so a lot of work had to be put in order to stay up with it. And we'll see what happens on this next run.
Yeah, Brandon Patrick's also a VDC driver as well. He's been doing a great job competing. We've had some laughs because he used to drive a Challenger in VDC. Now you see him in the Z4, very unique from what we've seen real world. Here comes Vestamanis coming in with a nice initiation, going to outer zone 1, good fill up. Going all the way into outer zone 2. Oh, looks like a tire drop there, but Vestamanis in that GT86 going to this final outer zones in this final turn. Good fill out as Brandon Patrick is mirroring the angle of Vestamanis.
Looking through the replay, we're going to have to see which driver really wanted it more as they come into this entrance. Not as much of a gap on the initiation this time around. Z4 is able to enter nice and close as they come across this outside sweeper. Diving in here, they got the first decel. They do a great job dropping in. I think the FRS does a great job just rotating the car into the right position as they come past that second touch and go, or third touch and go, and then across this inside clip. It looks like he has just enough room for the Z4 to come even closer on the clip. Overall, the Z4 seemed pretty glued to him most of that run. I think in general, that car is just a little bit faster.
For sure. And let's see the chat firing up all cylinders. This chat is moving with this battle. But let's see it. Left for Patrick, right for Vestamanis. And Patrick gets the win and moves on. Great job from Brandon Patrick. Now we have our next battle coming up. Ernestes Jaku, our last year's champion, versus Virgil Choisitz. Jaku is a really, really nice person to talk to. He's really cool. He usually has Jaku on his spoiler. Awesome driver. But we'll see how he performs here. And last year he was in an 890. This year he's in that BMW G87.
I love the body kit on that car too, by the way. Looks very aggressive.
Oh yeah. Here we go. Jaku in the lead for 2024 Virtual Drift Masters champion. Let's see if he'll throw down as he does a great job filling in on inner clip 1 and outer zone 1 and 2. Now diving into inner clip 2. Look at Choisitz, unfazed by the last year's champion, rubbing the tire on Jaku, then backs off and still pushes him across the line.
Yeah, we got some excellent contact there. I think it's definitely the closest and most rubbing and racing we've seen this entire event so far. As we see them come into that first corner, they do a great job diving in. A little bit of bobbling there and some space to clean up. As they come into this next transition, he has to cut the line a little bit. We see a lot of that from a lot of these runs. It's the best opportunity there, I think. If you have to cut the line and get close, do it there. And then as they come into this corner here, this is where we see the nice equal snap. And then right here, rub it against the door. I mean, that car is blue and white, but he's going to find some red. And hey, I'm never going to be opposed to seeing some red, white, and blue on a door.
Here we go. We got Virtual Choisitz in the lead. And Jaku.
I mean, because he's French, people. Not because I'm American. He's French. It's the same colors.
Jaku, let's see how he comes out here to perform. Beautiful initiation from Virgil, and Jaku flirts with the angle going into the first inner clip, and now he is reeling him in. Oh my goodness, the aggression from Jaku in the chase, giving him room for the transition, and then manipulating the proximity all the way through, reeling him in like a big old fish.
He manipulated that car better than my ex manipulated me. Coming into that corner, it looks like he was just putting on a clinic as far as how the scientific approach is to how you stay really close to somebody and in full control of the car. We can see it right here coming to the outside zone. He doesn't even have to cut the line right there. He does a great job just inching forward, keeping it there. Very meticulous, very calculated, and very demure as they come across this last inside clip and across the line. What a clinic on chasing.
Slide it left for Jakku, slide it right for choices. And Jakku gets the win and moves on. Wow.
Yeah, very well deserved on that one. That run was very recognizable as just precision driving, full control of the car. Very happy with that one.
Now we have Robert Baczynski versus Reese Tatterson, VDM 2021 first place. Reese Tatterson is also teamed up with RTR, and this one is not Racing Team Riga, it's actually the Fun Havers. That's why you see him in that Ford Mustang. And Reese Tatterson has been absolutely maniacal with that Ford Mustang. And you see Baczynski in the A90 with his Takata racing harness. We saw him last round put in a clinic with that 890. Let's see how he does here in Spain. As look at Reese Tatterson surging right into the pocket, right off the rip, not giving him room to breathe. And my goodness, the proximity, there is a lot of wavering from the chase driver. But here's Baczynski going into the final inner clip. Look at Reese Tatterson forward in the pocket and not giving him room to breathe.
Yeah, Reese Tatterson coming into this event as one of the regular fan favorites here. He got a lot of fame from his previous competitions and, of course, was in a viral YouTube video driving one of the Warhouse cars. And as they come in here now teamed up with RTR, he's doing a great job. I think he does a read right here on the Supra, and he sees the Supra bobble a little bit, and I think it gives him a little bit of a wavering in confidence, but then he gets right back into it here. As you can see the Supra get more steady, I think he returns fire by getting really close right here, and as you mentioned, just stepping all the way up into the pocket where they are wheel to wheel on all four. And doing a great job there. So super aggressive driver. He takes every opportunity to surge. As long as he looks like the front driver's confident, it looks like he gets his confidence back. I think that one outer zone when he saw the Supra just kind of like stumble a little bit coming into the turn, it looked like he just sort of, braked, didn't want to cause a collision, and then waited for the moment where the Supra looked like it was calm and collected again to get back into it. So we'll see how the judges really interpret something like that and what they expect of the drivers. And now we got to turn around and see Reese Tatterson in the lead. Nice initiation, doing a good job. Tons of angle. The Supra kind of just pure pile driving into the corner. Did not see him match that angle. Reese doing a great job in the deep end. Now we see the Supra really reeling it back in, keeping his tire there, looking to keep that proximity. Supra's only got one more corner to make the difference. Does a great job staying close and returning fire across the line. Lots of action back to back. That's going to be a tough one, Tiny. Take us through it.
Look at how Reese Tatterson comes here and just straight lights off the tires right off the line, fills out that inner clip, dives into outer zone 1, pulls that e-brake, and then floats into it. Was such a great lead. But look at my man here in the A90 just holding the proximity. He's not really matching angle until close to the end. I think the judges might look at that and might deduct some points because he wasn't marrying angle, but we don't know. We'll see how the results come here. Baczynski to the left, Tatterson to the right, and Reese Tatterson gets the win and moves on.
There we go. And I think really the largest contributing factor of that one must be that entry behind Reese from the Supra. Just, he was really straight. He might have almost come to a complete straight. And I mean, he was not matching the angle. It almost looked like he just kind of messed up his entry and then had to almost reinitiate mid-corner to get back into it. Very subtly, but the angle was obvious that he wasn't matching the angle. It was very, very shallow of an entrance.
And this is the final battle of our top 32. You got Daniel Andreev versus Andreas Kleinberg. Andreas Kleinberg is going to be in the chase in the GT86, and Andreev is going to be in the E82. Season 9 DCGP champion, VDM 2024 second place champion. A little bit shallow on that first inner clip. Going into outer zone 1, good job. And then diving into outer zone 2, great e-brake pull. Diving into inner clip 2. Oh my goodness. Look at Kleinberg getting super aggressive. Oh, a huge correction on that final inner clip. I was just saying he was doing a great job in the chase, and he makes that big correction.
Yeah, dropping off there is a big one. I mean, that's the last part of the turn. Everyone's going to remember it as they come in. Big gap kind of going into that first one, so it kind of just creates an area that has to be separated, and then a lot of wavering in the chase. We see the angle switching multiple times, but here manages to get back up onto the door, and then it seems like right when he catches it, here we see the correction and a little bit of the drop off. So that not ideal. His spotter's definitely going to tell him, hey, let's clean that up a little bit, because this lead run was pretty good from the BMW, and now he seems like he's on it. So now in the chase position, I mean, the best thing is, like, a lot of drivers have this preference of whether they want to go first or whether they want to go second, and here he's going to have the clean air, so he's going to have the best conditions possible to put down a clean lead run.
Yeah, I do see some people in chat that are really well known in the sim community as well. You have Olof Eriksson. Guy is absolute shredder out there, helps out with real life drifters. But here we go, Andreas Kleinberg in the lead. Inner clip 1, beautiful fill out, and then outer zone 1 is great as well. Look at Andreev with the BMW rubbing the tire on the door, letting Kleinberg know that he is there. He's going to be changing his Spotify to Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus because how close he was.
Yeah, I mean, right there, I mean, just really clean rubbing. It wasn't like a full contact that was going to cause any issues. It was just really nice, precise, close proximity, letting him know that he's right on his door, doing a great job staying close to him from the full beginning of the run, coming right here, getting really close on the door, and here he's just glued. And then as they come through this transition, once again, does a great job on the read, comes into that inside flip, and then just stays on him across the line.
I was hoping you caught that Miley Cyrus and Party in the USA comment.
No, hell yeah, I did. I'll never forget. I'll never miss a Miley Cyrus reference, ever.
That's Taylor Swift, I thought. Here we go, Andreev in the left, Kleinberg to the right.
Did you get Swift and Cyrus mixed up?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to comment on it.
First of all, one of those
Andreev
is
gets the win.
Oh yeah, sorry, we're doing a drift event. Sorry, I blacked out a little bit there. Don't you ever mock Swift's name.
This is our top 16 here. This has been fantastic. You got some crazy battles coming up here. How are you feeling, Alec?
I'm feeling good. There's definitely some people that are far more locked in than others. I mean, but I think we've weeded out most of those people right here. I mean, that was the toughest to judge top 32 that you would ever see in real life, and it's in the virtual series. And now you've just had to make some tough decisions to form a top 16. So I think now that you've got the winner coming off of those battles, they're already very close. It's only going to get harder here. So again, this is the way more fun job. It's cool to be an announcer and just talk and be an enthusiast in the booth and let the people who are watching just kind of have a voice to go along with this. Being a judge is the hardest job out there today, right behind, being the drivers themselves. And I got to say, shout out to the safety measures today. We've seen a fire suit, we've seen a 4-point harness, and so we're, drivers are risking it all, including potentially their life, to win this competition.
So, Alec, we'll be having a 5-minute break here. For you guys that are watching, grab your popcorn, grab your drinks, and listen to some Tay-Tay. That was a callback from our first time us commentating back on the sim. So I hope you guys are enjoying the series. It's been fantastic. We'll take a 5-minute break, and we'll be right back into the show.
Oh, the shadow tags the wall, almost throws it away as Heidenen backs it in across the line.
Unbelievable again. What a final. What a finish. Lori Heinen is your 2024 champion.
Here we go. We are back live in action. Alec, it's been an absolute pleasure having you back in the booth, being my partner in crime like we have been in real life. Alec, give us a quick rundown. We had a 5-minute break. What's going through your mind while we are on break? I think Alec might have his mic a little muted.
All right, there we go. Really quick correction there. So, yeah, same thing I was thinking before. Honestly, before we left, there were two big things on my mind. A, Tiny, can't believe you got Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift mixed up. One is a queen, and one has really let go of herself. And when it comes to the drifting, I mean, what great competition we've been able to see here. We were talking about what kind of great ideal conditions that a virtual drifting gives you. And with that all removed and just skill on the table, we had some hard decisions, I think, that the judges had to make. So we've got some judges here, and they do a lot of the judging for the actual Drift Masters series. And whereas there's some runs that can just go to a car catching on fire, going off track, dealing with some mechanical issues, completely falling off pace, all of those things are either impossible to or far less likely to happen here. So the judges really have their work cut out for them, and the drivers have been really putting in the work to make sure that they are separating themselves. So it was hard these last top 32. I think it's going to be just that much more difficult in top 16.
These guys are going to be absolutely diabolical, and we have our first battle here lined up. You have Steven Jarbo in the RX-7 and Alexander Element in the G87. Steven Jarbo loves that RX-7, always competes in it and always is rowdy with it. Here he comes in the AOM livery, green on black, and then with a nice initiation, going to that first inner clip, beautiful fill out, a little bit of a correction, going to outer zone 1, and then angles up to outer zone 2, looks like a tire drop, punting that outer zone cone, but then diving into the second inner clip, and then going to his final turn, good fill out as well. But look at Element getting the proximity all the way throughout the whole track.
Very aggressive, and as we saw in the top 32, the RX-7 is just so quick coming into this corner, and you can see him come in onto this outside, or touching on his inside touch and go on the outside, just so fast as it comes through. And then right here, scrubbing up all 4 tires to kill down that speed and get back on it again. The BMW does a great job of just reading and responding to every single thing that the lead driver is doing. And then right here, we see him really close the door as they come across the line.
We're going to have them switch sides here. And I want to thank the sponsors of the series, Strom Wheels, Money, and Ragnar Simulator, putting on this competition in the virtual side 2 weeks prior to every Drift Masters event. You guys are experiencing the tracks on the simulator side. We actually have some real-life Drift Masters drivers as well competing here. Here we go. Steven Jarbo is going to be in the chase now. Alexander Element in the lead. Let's see if Alexander Element does a great job here in the lead, giving Steven Jarbo. Oh my goodness, the surge that Jarbo had right off the rip, making a little bit of contact and then going forward in the pocket to reel in the proximity. Steven Jarbo is sinking his teeth in to the lead driver, then falls behind, now surging into the final half of this track. My goodness, that was really aggressive from Steven.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a lot of focus on this second run from the judges, and while it was more aggressive, does that mean that a little bit of greed got to them and there were some more mistakes? So as they come across here, we see the RX-7 try to respond, dive in. He does have to cut the line a little bit more to get down here. We do see a little bit of wavering and bobbling as the BMW is out front, and the RX-7 is trying to just mimic and read. A little bit of a drop back here as that flick seemed to happen a little further back on the driving line, but then he seems to reel him back in there. So very great run on both runs, and it sounds like, I'm sure I'm being really meticulous, but you can only imagine for the judges. I mean, if both, if we're getting back-to-back great runs, they've really got to tear these runs apart. And there you go, Element and the BMW G87 moving on to the next round.
Huge mistake from the chase from Jarbo, but them AOM guys have been straight shredders throughout the sim community. They are also transitioning into real-world competition as well. You have the leader, Rampage, Dijon Reeves. He did compete last year. He's not competing this year, but he is now the spotter for Connor Olsoli in Formula Drift. It's great to see him. But we have our next battle here. Cameron Mustard in the Skyline in the chase. And Vitaly Azeev in the lead with the Z4. Let's see how Vitaly Azeev comes here with that first initiation. Hits that touch and go. Hits the midline of that first inner clip. Here's Cameron Mustard wavering behind him, now surging into the pocket. Huge fill out from Vitaly Isaev. But it looks like Cameron Mustard might have been lost in the smoke a little bit, but now diving into the final inner clip to the final outer zone and with a great aggressive chase.
Yeah, here we see, obviously, I mean, Mustard was the condiment of choice coming out of the last round, and I mean, honestly, looking for that Heinz sponsorship, but this time it looks like he was just starting to crumble a little bit from the pressure. He drops down, coming through this fast-paced section, going into this touch and go, and we see him drop back a little bit right here, come back and tries to reel him in. Kudos where it's due, coming through this transition where he'd be almost blind. He does a great job at calculating where to throw the car on a surge to try and tidy things up by the end of the run, but a lot of motion coming from that car in the back. And not the kind that I've learned recently on Urban Dictionary. You know, if you're doing really good, they say you have motion. So I'm learning. I don't want to get the two mixed up. I will get back to you.
That's a thing, man. I'm starting to feel old now. I see the $5.
Well, if someone ever asks if when you knew you had motion, you're supposed to say since birth. I think that's what you're supposed to say.
Oh. Here it goes, Cameron Mustard. Let's see if he has that motion. Going to that first inner clip, going to outer zone 1. Beautiful fill out, and then holding that e-brake so he can float to outer zone 2. Great deep fill out on there. Going to the inner clip 2. Beautiful. And look at Vitaly Isaev mirroring the angle and aggression that Cameron Mustard has in the lead. Oh my goodness.
An incredible chase job here on this replay. Oh, drone. All right, there you go. And as we get into the run here, we see, before we saw some distance from Mustard, and we see here that is not a thing that is present in the chase position now. We see a dive in here, good correction, and then from here, the Elmers, the Gorilla, whatever type of glue is your glue of choice, it is applied to that door as they jump in here and get right glued to the door. I mean, look at that. That is exactly what you want to see in the chase. I think I'm a big fan of Mustard. I mean, I talked very highly about him last round, but I'm a little worried right now about whether the judges are going to say he's won it. It looks like, unfortunately, that's going to be the end of the day for him. The BMW Z4, driven by Tiny, help me out here. Driven by
Vitaly Isaev. He's getting moving on.
Yes, he moves on.
And that's Steven Atcher's car, the Civ Magic. I did see the chat, the $5 chat. You know, Tiny, we driving leader. That could be a possibility. As we are going also to the next battle. That looks like Zach O'Sullivan versus Krzysztof Rapina.
Was that a $5 donation? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Chat, you would not believe what I'll do for $5.
Oh, Jesus. As we go into our battle, Zach O'Sullivan in the lead with the BMW coming in with a nice fill out on that first inner clip. Angles up on outer zone 1. And here comes Krzysztof Rapina with that S14 reeling in Zach O'Sullivan, the VDC champion, as he is going through this final turn. Krzysztof Rapina dives in, surges into the pocket, does a great job in the chase. Oh, man.
We saw this last time in the top 32. O'Sullivan came to this competition with a master's degree in swagger when it comes to being behind the wheel. Doing a great job. Ooh, a little bit of contact right there. I don't think we saw that before. The S14, a little bit of a punting of the rear axle there on O'Sullivan, but he responds to it and completely unaffected by it as he comes through the rest of the run. But O'Sullivan, besides that, putting the car in all the right places. The S14, we saw make it through one more time to the top 32. That was how the S14 had to advance up to this point. So that car we know has a ton of speed, does a great job trying to stay close, but O'Sullivan was just very precise with it, and it looks like, the contact might have been the fault of Rapina, and kudos to O'Sullivan for, not using it as a reason to flop like LeBron James. And that is the thing that we have here in the United States. We've got NBA, LeBron James, one of the better players. I guess I should be careful about my references, but anyways, he like falls when someone touches him.
Here comes Rapina in the lead with that S14, doing a great job. Look at Zach O'Sullivan, knowing that he has had contact in the beginning, but falls forward in the pocket and trying to reel him in, giving a very casual proximity going through the whole lap. And now he's rubbing that front tire on the door of Rapina. Pretty sure his spotter told him, hey, take it easy on this round. You made contact on the previous lap. We're going through the replay here. As Rapina is going through the track, look at Zach O'Sullivan very, very smooth and consistent in the chase, doing a great job, doing what he needs to do to try to seal the fate of this battle. And the judges are determining who moves on. Alec, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Look, sorry, looking through the replay. There, right there, is the touch and go on the rear axle. I think it's really going to come down to contact as they come through the inside clip. I mean, he does a great job just committing to it. So, I mean, right now we see this replay. That means the judges are needing to take a little bit of extra time to deliberate. I think this is going to be. I think this is going to be tough. It may go one more time.
I think with that replay, they're probably trying to see if Zach was having too much momentum, maybe falling off a track. I think that would be a good educated guess on that. But we have a decision here. Left for O'Sullivan and right for Rapina. And Zach O'Sullivan gets the win and moves on. We're going to move on to our next battle here.
Yeah, I think right there it's just a tally of mistakes. I mean, O'Sullivan did a great job driving, but I think ultimately there was a little bit of unsteadiness coming from the S14 throughout both runs, and I think eventually it just caught up with him.
Alec, you don't have the chat up, right?
I do. I just have had I've been looking at my little PDF document here, trying to get ahead of some of these pronunciations. I will not have a clue how to say what Peter just said.
We have Nico Stella in the chase and Nick Hang in the lead. He's in that Ford Sierra. Nick Hang coming in here with a nice weight transfer initiation, going to that first inner zone. Great fill out in outer zone 1. And here's Nico Stella being super aggressive from Spain and getting the close proximity as they're going through this little power alley to the final turn. Nico is doing a great job being super consistent with the proximity throughout the whole lap in that 400Z.
This is one of those runs that I definitely knew was going to be interesting to see later on, because I vividly remember both of these drivers just absolutely conquering their previous runs. I mean, we have the Sierra up here doing super aggressive, lots of speed. The Z doing a great job reading. We're just barely clearing the bumper as they come into this other zone here. Diving a little bit, he had to brake because he was a little worried about over-surging there, it looks like. And as they come through this transition, once again, right on that rear zone, touch and go on that inner clip, and they're just glued together like twins. And Wise Roan says, sorry, Alec, I only want to see what Tiny would do for $5. I want to see something strange for some change. Well, that's your loss, buddy. All right, I am a 10 with a lethal face guard, and but that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Here we go. We got Nick Hag now in the chase. Nico Stella in the lead. 400Z versus Ford Sierra. Nico Stella coming in with a clutch kick initiation, going to that first inner zone. And then, my goodness, the float to outer zone 2 from Nico the Kid Stella does a great job. So the chase could use that proximity and get that door of Nico the Kid Stella. Look at that Ford Sierra throughout this whole competition. And last round, he's been super, super aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, here we see the Z going up front, using that longer wheelbase to just really settle the car into the zone on these faster corners here. The Sierra having to do what he can to keep up. He's got lots of grip at his disposal, and we see it come into play right here as we get into the more technical, shortest end of the track. He's able to flick and use getting that rear end out to get a lot closer on that latter portion of the track. I mean, both of these drivers are just, again, putting on demonstrations of just clean running. The drivers are going, or the judges are going to have to, lick their fingers and turn over their notepads and get a fresh piece of paper for this one, because I think they're going to have to really outline who made more mistakes.
And our judges today is Chris Wotowski, David Kalas, and Maki Kidawa. Or, I'm sorry, Maddie Zichik. Man, I keep butchering his name. That's one of the names that I have a struggle, but Maddie, he's a DCGP, the owner and the runner of that. He's a fantastic individual here. Made his debut in last year's Poland for judging. Left for Hang, right for Stella, and Nico the Kid Stella gets the win. Does a great job. And moving on.
Yeah, I think that definitely came down to the chase position there. The Sierra did a great job in the lead, but I think on the chase he was just a little bit wobbly. I think the 400Z was just a lot more settled on both runs. So so I think good job. So far, there's not been a single call by the judges that I've been in disagreement with. This is great. So I think, I'm excited to see how this goes. Usually from our experience, being here in America, we've got Formula Drift where Chris Forsberg always wins. So it's interesting to kind of see what happens. We've got some judges. Everyone's got a fair shot at this. It's all down to the skill. And now we're excited to see the Black Smoke Racing Mercedes again. Team member from Black Smoke in real life. That modeled after the real car in real life. And as you can see, some interesting coating there to get the black smoke coming out of the hood. Very nice touch.
Yep, and you have Alan Hines in the lead with that beautiful green Hines livery as he is going through the first inner clip, holds e-brake, gets back on throttle, lights off the tires, going to outer zone 2. Look at that 190 Mercedes just getting close proximity the whole way. Black smoke coming from the rear end and the front of that car. Absolutely diabolical from that Mercedes.
There we go. Clean run by both drivers, but the Mercedes just glued the entire time. Does a great job on the surging without having to really cut the line. You just see him staying right there in the pocket the entire time, right here. And if you're new to drifting too, what we call that pocket is pretty much the first car length right behind the lead driver. That's what we'll consider the pocket. If you are all up in that pocket, just filling it up, making it ooze with nice, cool drift action, then you are doing an incredible job as a driver. You are staying right where you need to be to get the maximum amount of points, the maximum amount of wow factor in the eyes of the judges. And while we got this on the screen, we see right there in chat from the bot, remember to grab your tickets to the real life Drift Masters round in Spain. The link right there in the chat. But very, very excited to see this run. I think both these drivers did so good last time. They're both big angle getters. Let's see how they're going to return to Stender.
Warren is now going to be in the lead. Coming in with a nice initiate. Look at Alan Hines being super aggressive, sinking his teeth on the competition, and huge angle from Warren, but he falls off of the track a little bit, a little tire drop there, but going into outer zone 3 and 4, good fill out. Look at Alan Hines being super aggressive, unfazed by that Mercedes. My goodness.
A big high risk versus high reward move there for the Mercedes in the lead. As we see him come into this run, we see him go into this, grab a lot of speed into the first inside zone and touch and go. And as he transitions to the first main outside zone, we see him come almost backwards in here, dropping really far out. We can't really see from the smoke whether or not it was a touch and go from this particular angle, but the S-Chassis doing a great job just reading and responding, doing a good job. And once again, filling the pocket, coming across the line. There's a lot of things I'd love to be in this life, but a judge is not one of them.
Yeah. And look at that. Alan Hines gets the win and moves on. Warren does end his journey here. And, man, Alan Hines did a fantastic job in the chase. And you were talking about in the pocket. A lot of times I tell people they try to get in the pocket to get pocket change for the toll booths, but I don't think there's toll booths in Europe.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that the people we fought so hard to get independence from taxes their people less than we actually tax our people today? Also, second, wait a minute. You're telling me that there's a guy with the last name Hines and a guy with the last name Mustard and they're not on the same team?
Here we go. We got Darius Austriaca in the lead and Steven Hatcher in the chase. Let's see if Hatcher will do a great job. He's coming from Canada. He's going to try to sink his hatchet right to the door of Austriaca, right off the rip. Look at, oh my goodness, the surge right off the rip. Getting close proximity, had to back off a little bit. Now searching back onto Darius the Don Austriaca as he is going to enter clip 2. Now the power alley is going to be a super important. Hatcher has to fall behind. Huge surge, but it looks like a huge slinky effect as well throughout the whole battle.
Yeah, we got a little bit of slinkage. We got a little bit of patty cake going on track. We see a little bit of contact and reeling back, coming in this outside zone. We see a little bit of patty cake there, a little bit of touch, and then a fall back to try and avoid any contact. Then he's got to reel back in again. Once again, it looks like he's almost going to be a little bit of contact. The BMW starts to just kind of walk away here, and then you see transition right here. We see one more, boom, clap on the door as they come across. So not ideal from the chase position. BMW doing a great job keeping his composure, but the S chassis is going to have to do what he can to clean that up. I can't imagine the judges are super happy to see that. They really want to see consistency and control staying on the door, not too many times coming up and tagging the door and then falling back. So I got to imagine that's going to be a mark against him in the judges' eyes. Hopefully the spotter's telling him, look, bud, now you're leading. You got the clean air. Get up front. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Hold on, I'm letting my American show a little bit too much. And here we go. Initiation into this first corner. Coming to the outside zone. Full speed as they transition here into the outside zone. Is he going to do a good job making up for it? Doing a great lead run. Yes, but the BMW is also right there as they come across. Now we're going to turn 7. This is making or breaking a lot of runs right here. A little bit of a tap. Same thing, actually, that we just saw from the S13. But only the BMW doesn't fall back as far after the contact. Interested to see what the judges are going to make of that one.
Man, you're looking at this run up here. Stephen Hatcher does a great job getting right to the angle he needs to get to outer zone 1. But look at that. Don Austriaca getting really aggressive, mirroring the angle, and then using that left foot brake to keep the proximity alive as they're going through this power alley. Huge decel here. Darius does make contact on that last inner clip, but this is something where, as a judge, they might look at it was the lead driver slowing down too much or keeping going the momentum. But here he goes. Darius Austriaca gets the win and moves on to the rest of the bracket. Stephen Hatcher, beautiful performance from you today and the previous round. We're gonna see the next battles start lining up here shortly.
Yeah, I think that was a well-deserved one by the BMW. I think there was just too many mistakes, and I don't know if it's nerves or greed or just trying to be overly aggressive. I think sometimes less is more when you're trying to surge on a driver. If you ask for too much, sometimes you're going to get too much. And wow, I'm wide awake now. My coffee's really kicking in. I would tell you the brand of it, but once again, I'm not going to advertise any coffee brand if they're not supporting the Virtual Drift Masters series. So just know what it is keeping me wide awake, but you'll never know the brand. If you think I'm talking about you, coffee brand, reach on out. Become part of the action.
Here's Jaku in the chase and Brandon Patrick in the lead. Jaku was last year's champion, and we have him coming out here getting close proximity the whole way through outer zone 1 and 2 and the inner clip 2. And my goodness, the aggressiveness from Jaku as they're finally finishing this lap. But that lead from Brandon Patrick was impeccable.
We knew this was going to be a battle of titans, and now we get to see it again on the replay as they come through. The Z4 doing a great job, lots of speed, grabbing as much momentum as possible, but the other BMW's right behind him. It's a BMW on BMW battle, and they are door to door right there in the pocket glued as they come to that last outer zone. And then here we come into that decel, and they both just really bring themselves into angle. A little bit of a stutter from the chase car, but I don't want to say that I saw them ever at any point come outside of a car length of distance the entire run.
Jaku is a surgical doctor with any car he gets in and gets set up. And then a quick fun fact, there are toll booths in Europe, not much though. Anyway, Jaku is in the lead. Brandon Patrick is in the chase, coming in with a nice initiation as they're going through the first inner zone and now going to the outer zone 2. And an angle up from the chase driver so he can get that proximity, doing the same thing Jaku was doing him in the previous lap as they're going to the final turn. Look at Brandon Patrick go, getting doors, baby.
Oh my goodness, Brandon Patrick ready to return to sender. He said, okay, I got to turn it up a notch. Bet I am become drift. As he comes through, he decides he's going to get it glued to the door and not come unglued the entire run. I'm excited for this replay to come up. Come on, production team. We want to see that again. And then, all right, here we go. Replay will come momentarily. I know the judges are talking about it. We don't have a replay right now. I would impersonate it because I can remember it. But honestly, an incredible chase run. The Z4 did an excellent job. He was glued the entire time. If that were a photograph, it would be one of those rap albums where it has to say parental supervision on it, because honestly, that's something you should not be able to say. That's a PG-13 chase run. So,
yeah.
Is it the same thing? Is there a conversion for that? PG-13, rated
but,
R.
I know the
rated
cassette
G.
tapes used to have those rap album covers. Here we go. Brandon Patrick to the left, Jaku to the right, and it's a one more time battle. Let's go. Wow. They're going to bring their A game they're gonna be they're just straight being gangsters out here.
I'm ready for this. I mean, I don't know, Chad, are you entertained? Because, I mean, look at this. These guys are bringing the heat. You've ever been to a Mexican restaurant and had some hot sauce and said, this is fuego? This is that, like, times 10.
I've done the one chip challenge. Yeah, we're going to get a quick explanation from the judge real quick why we're doing that one more time.
Yeah, thank you for the word. Like, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, if we would be really pushed to choose a winner, I believe we possibly would be able to, but it was so close that we really would like to see one more time, and it is great to see battles like that one more time.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Being here as an announcer, we are pretty much the president spectators of this event. We just love to talk about it, love to see it. And now we're going to get back into the action again. We've got Patrick in the lead. Jacobellis in the chase. I really hope I said that right. No offense to anybody if I mess it up. And here we go through the sweeper. Lots of proximity, lots of speed as they come through. Both of them dialing in and pouring in the angle. Pour that sugar on me as they come through. Not getting outside of the pocket for even a second. Big surge and big initiation as they come across that last point and door to door across the line.
Well, pour that sugar on me is more pour that smoke on me as Jaku is getting that close proximity right off the rip, bathing in the smoke, especially with that left foot braking going on in outer zone 2. Beautiful job from Brandon Patrick filling out each zone, going to that power alley into the final decel. And my goodness, Jaku is letting everybody know why he was a champion last year and is being an absolute animal on the track. No, animal is not the definition. Absolute demon on the track. Now we have Jaku in the lead here. Brandon Patrick in the chase. Let's see if this is, well, this is a clash of titans. Godzilla versus King Kong, pretty much, if you ever are a fan of those movies. Here we go. Jaku in the lead. Brandon Patrick in the chase. Brandon Patrick is in that Z4. Jacobellis is in that other BMW in the front. And oh my goodness, filling out outer zone 1. Beautiful job as he is ripping that e-brake. Look at Brandon Patrick, letting him know that he is there, letting him know his name. Oh, a fall behind on the final turn. That is very upsetting for the chase.
It was just a little bit of a drop back, but it was the only one we've seen through any of these runs. So the question's going to be, is that going to be what the judges are going to use to bury the hatchet on this one? We see them come across this first corner, close proximity, once again diving in, doing a great job. We've seen them glued door to door on both runs, on both one more time and the first run. But here is where we see this start to drop back. A little bit of too much of an angle grab, stuck in the smoke, and the lead BMW pulls away. But either way, this is the best machines that the BMWs have made, or that Germans have made in a really long time. This is what you can talk about, fellas. This is not what happened in the 40s. This is what's happening now. And these BMWs are machines ready to go to war. What am I even saying right now? I'm just so excited. For
that coffee's kicking in. You have Jaku in the G87 and Patrick.
I'm blacking out.
Oh man, that coffee, that Hispanic coffee hits different. I'm drinking Red Bull.
Is it Hispanic?
It gives me wings. And we're going through. The judges have probably come to a decision here real shortly. Oh man, it's been quite a treat.
That drop back. I definitely think that drop back is going to be a big deciding factor. There's of course a lot that the judges also meant, like chat, just so you know, we're watching it live. We're watching the one replay. The really cool thing about this being virtual is the judges get to see at any angle they want to. They're not limited by certain camera angles. They can go ahead and they can look at it in real time, slow it down, really see what happened. So they have a lot of tools better than what we see in real life to establish a winner. So I think that's also part of the reason why we've seen so many calls that we really enjoy. And I'm glad they're taking some time. The big thing stays true. Don't leave it in the judges' hands. So, and now we get to see us again. So what's going on, Tiny? How you doing? Looking good today.
I think one of the judges might elaborate on there. And we got a chat right here. here shortly. We'll address that. But Jakku to the right, Patrick to the left. And Jakku Bellis gets the win and moves on. Pretty sure that that drop back was definitely one of the big crucial points here.
And a split decision too from the judges. That's the first time we've seen some that want to go one more time, and where it's been split where one judge wants to go one more time and the other two vote for a driver. This is the first call we've seen in this competition today where one judge goes with one driver and the other two go with the other driver. So, you know, probably a little bit of arguing. Maybe mommy and daddy are having a little bit of a shouting match. Don't worry, children. They're just fine. It's just a bad day. We're going to go through with the rest of the competition. We're still a family. It's going to be great. And then we have donation from Wise Road. I just realized you guys are professional yappers, less than 3. You guys can yap to me anytime. That coffee's kicking in, huh, Alec? Yeah, it is. And but you'll never know what brand it is, because I will not advertise for someone who is not going to, you know, hawk it up for Drift Masters. So here we go. Tatterson in the lead. Andrejev in the chase. Tiny, take us through it.
We got Tatterson in the chase and Andrejev in the lead as Andrejev is in that BMW, and you got Tatterson in that RTR Fun Average Mustang as he is surging into the pocket, rubbing that tire on Andrejev as he is going to this final turn. Look at Reese Tatterson massaging the angle throughout the track to hold that proximity.
There we go, and on the replay, we can see Tatterson in the chase with the RTR. I mean, we saw him super aggressive before, but both of these drivers sweep their competition in the top 32, and we see him backing it into that outside zone. I mean, the Mustang just seems so settled, grabbing for big angle and in those high speeds. But here we have the BMW being able to be a lot more snappy into that last corner. We have that decel zone in the inside clip. So great first run. I think still definitely a little on the table for both drivers to go ahead and clean things up in that second run.
Right. Here we go. We have them switching sides here. This is the final battle of the top 16. We'll be moving on to the grade 8 afterwards. Daniel Andrejev is in the chase now. Reese Tatterson in the lead. Reese Tatterson with the Heinz livery in that RTR Funhavers Mustang, floating right into interclip 1 and outer zone 1. Oh, beautiful e-brake pull and angles up on outer zone 2. Look at Andrejev as he is getting the proximity and rubbing doors with Reese Tatterson as they're going through the finish line. Absolutely crazy. I think we need an exorcism after that. That was 2 demons on the track.
And Tatterson with a commendable lead run. He comes to this outside zone. You heard that Mustang just absolutely ripping as he comes to this outside zone. Again, just swiveling in. But unfortunately, we've got a car on track that we're going to have to check with the officials that there might be magnets underneath the fender, because look at the glue onto Tatterson on these last couple runs as they come across the line. He turned on the electromagnet switch and just said, let me go ahead and just glue on up to you over there, Tatterson. So we'll have to see there. Definitely an aggressive chase. Beautiful lead by Tatterson, but unfortunately, he was towing the BMW behind him.
That was so good to see. These two guys have always been fun to watch. Reese Tatterson running the Ford Mustang this year in both VDC and Virtual Drift Masters. It's a really big change of pace. The first time I seen him compete was in a Corvette C6 in the sim, and he's just very, very smooth with it, almost robotic at times. But in the chase, there was some hiccups from him, but we got the judge's decision. Left for Andrejev, right for Tatterson, and it's a one more time yet again. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm going to need a fidget spinner if I'm going to stay calm during this. I'm excited to see these guys go at it once again. And then looking at chat, got Joni saying that's a hot sideways heart shape. Well, you're lucky I'm reading your comment, because you know what it really was? It was a $5 donation. So that's what matters most.
I'm going to get David out here to explain a little bit on that run. I'm pretty sure I know what possibly happened. We'll see David Kalas as he has explained this here. David?
Hey, David.
Maybe, there he is.
You have to say his name like Joe from Family Guy to get him to. Hey, David.
I was thinking of Say it 3
he's
times. There we
busy.
go. We got our.
We're back into the other
Yeah,
one.
he's busy right now. We got our one more time battle. Andreev is in the lead now. Reese Tatterson in the chase. Reese Tatterson coming in hot and heavy, trying to reel in the proximity right off the rip. Doesn't give him room on the transition and rubs the tire on the front quarter panel, but a shallow angle on inner clip 2. As they're going through this power alley, Andreev is able to fill out the final inner zone, and Reese Tatterson looks like he fell behind a little bit.
Tatterson knew that he was going to have to be a bully, so he got his gloves on. He got ready to do the dirty work, thinking he's going to have to send that BMW into a locker if he wants to win this one. He does a good job getting close here, and we see the proximity really start to pour in. A little bit of a bump, being a little bit too aggressive. I think Tatterson just needing to turn it down a little bit, and that becomes the consequence once again on this dive in here. He dives in, has to immediately let go of it, and then try to get back onto it again. So I think Tatterson, with the attempt to return back to sender, a commendable attempt, but unfortunately, I think he might have gotten a little bit too greedy. And I think that's what we saw there with him starting to dive in and having to fall back again.
Yeah, we're going to have them switch sides here. Reese Tatterson in the lead, Andreev in the chase. Our final battle of our top 16. Reese Tatterson coming in here with the Ford Mustang as Andreev is coming in with the BMW, being super aggressive right off the rip. Close proximity, rubs the front bumper on the back bumper of Reese Tatterson. They both match angle. Looks like they almost are over-rotated, but no, they were being surgical with their angle as they're going to the final inner clip and final outer zone. Doors!
That's gotta be the best drift deal I've ever seen of all time. Believe me, I've seen drift deals.
Look at this, coming around that outside zone. He does a great job getting it. Tatterson backing it into outer zone 1, doing a great job, just literally rotating the car in, almost a reverse entry as he comes in, and then coming to that last zone again. Just glued to him, though, is the BMW. So Tatterson with a great lead. We know that there were some mistakes there on his chase run in the first run. So, of course, the BMW needed to capitalize on it by staying even closer and just a repeat of what he did before. And then Tatterson needed to put down a killer of a lead run, which we see them with him trying to just rotate the car even more, get the back of that car out. And literally, I bet if we saw from a separate angle, that would have looked like a full-blown reverse entry. So the judges look like they've made the call, and none other than Andreev is going to be moving on to the BMW 1M. There's no way I said that right.
You said that really well.
Andreev?
I'm not just and just give you said
Got
that
it.
really well. Here we go. We got our Drift Masters bracket. This is our top 8. Going through these battles here, Zach O'Sullivan versus Nico the Kid Stella is going to be absolutely diabolical, as well as Andreev and Jakub Bellis. This is all Titans fighting. This is a big top 8 battles that you're going to see here today.
And I got to say, I really agree with every call that's been made by a judge so far. They've done a great job at picking who the winner is. I completely agree with that last run that they made. We've also got Wise Rowan with $5 donation saying, hey, don't yell at Joni. Chatter lives matter. Well, look, I'm not one to apologize, but for $5 I will. So since you donated $5, Joni, I $5 am sorry for yelling at you. Yeah, I want my apology to mean $5 to you, and that's how sorry I am.
Here we go. We got Vitaly Isayev versus Alexander Element, and we have number 44 who's in the chase. Alexander Element's in the chase. Vitaly Isayev in the lead. Vitaly Isayev coming in with a nice little float into that first inner zone. Outer zone 1 is beautiful. Transitioning to outer zone 2. Good fill out. And look at Vitaly Isayev doing a great job in the lead. And Alexander Element doing a great job taking advantage of that lead because he is holding the door of Vitaly Isayev.
Yeah, this right here, it's just like we mentioned, it's going to get closer and closer every battle to the point where these are just looking like just robotic-esque drifting of just lead and chase. Doing a great job doing textbook. And it's just incredible to think that these guys are doing this on Sims, both drivers locked into the line, locked into each other, doing a great job mimicking and responding, great proximity in the pocket the entire time. There's almost nothing to pick apart on that run. And so again, I think this is one of those situations where it's going to put all of the weight on that second run.
Yeah, and I actually commend the judges even more because they have such a keen eye, like a hawk, and being able to manipulate and figure out manipulate the camera angles so they can figure out who's truly at fault, who made the more mistakes. But we have Natalia Zayev now in the chase, Alexander Element in the lead, and we'll see this battle here. First battle of the Grade 8. As you see, Alexander Element get nice angle into that first inner zone, and then holding that e-brake, flirting with almost falling off a track, but able to get back on. And look at Vitaly Azeev matching the angle, matching the line of Alexander Element. It was a huge correction on outer zone 2. And
yeah, I think you're right. That correction is also probably going to, I mean, I started. And then, all right, I'll get back into it. Anyways, so here we go on the outside zone coming into here we see the mistake that you saw earlier. We see a little bit of a distance. It has to be reeled back in again. And this is where we start to see that this is a small mistake. But when there's not many mistakes on either run, it's really what the judges are going to see sticking out as a sore thumb. So the big question is that simple mistake, what decided the winner on this one? And but either way, I'm not complaining because it's a great show and great driving. I mean, both these guys are doing textbook driving, and it gets to the point now, Tiny, where I gotta say, if the driving is getting this textbook all the way around, then that extra gangster factor at like throwing full lock, snapping to angle, doing all that is really only the next step in evolution. So for these drivers who are doing a great job of doing textbook smooth runs, I think the biggest example I could give you with the experience in Formula Drift is, you know, when you compare someone like Osbo to Chelsea DeNova, right, is that Osbo will do the textbook run, but he'll get criticized as being a little bit more boring to watch compared to someone like Chelsea DeNova, who will flick the RTR Mustang at full lock and still be filling out the same zones. That's really what it's going to take to differentiate here, if it's not just subtracting mistakes. But both of these guys had very similar driving styles, and let's see how it paid off. There you go. It's going to be a one more time.
One more time here. Going to the battle. Wow. It's going to be really, really hard for the judges throughout this bracket. I can already tell, especially in this quick track. Most of these guys are going to get some really direct criticisms, and we're going to get David. I think we fixed his mic. He's going to be coming in here and giving us a quick explanation on that. David? I think we fixed his mic. All right. So there he is.
You've been asking for explanation?
Yeah, on that last run,
yeah.
why did it go one more time?
Yeah, from me and Chris, we saw like a couple of mistakes from both drivers. It comes to some bubbles at deceleration zone from Element. Both drivers were cutting quite significantly on their chase position in the first corner. So we saw like too many mistakes that we would like to see them clean them up. But for Mateusz, the initiation of Vitaly was just bad enough to, on chase position, was bad enough to give it to Alexander. But now we are here to see them clean their mistakes and hopefully saw awesome battle.
Well, thank you so much, David.
Well,
here's our battle here. Vitaly Azeev in the lead. Alexander Element in the chase. Our one more time battle coming in to the Grade 8. Beautiful fill out from Vitaly Azeev. And now going into outer zone 2. Beautiful angle and getting those tires locked and loaded from both of the drivers, all loaded with smoke going through this power alley as Alexander Element is reeling in the proximity throughout the whole track, keeping the same distance most of the track.
They're doing a great job again. Again, a demonstration of textbook driving, really just doing the requirements there of hitting every zone, being smooth, transitioning, getting the angle. BMW doing a little bit better in the lead at getting to angle a little bit snappier. This is where I mentioned again, I think style is going to be a big factor. And then earlier we heard from Judge Daddy about the previous run. I know that might be a little bit weird calling him Judge Daddy. My dad never came back from getting the milk. Any kind of positive role model male figure I kind of project onto. So you guys, he's the judge. To me, he's Judge Daddy. we've now explained it. We'll move past it. But I think it's going to come down to this next run. I mean, and I want to see more angle from these drivers when it's getting this close. I mean, they've just got to show off that they can get to angle faster and throw more angles out there. I mean, I want to see more angles than a geometry final. And I know these guys are capable of it because we've seen other drivers that are capable of it today as well. So let's see who really wants it more in this last run.
Here we go, Alexander Element in the lead. Oh, contact in the initiation. That makes Alexander Element fall off track. Oh, no. I don't think Vitaly gave him enough room for that initiation. And I feel like we need to get David Kalas that shirt that with that title.
Yeah, we got to see this again. It's crazy how he just had so much organization and then it just goes out in chaos. So here we see, yep, coming in there, and then that front wheel gets checked right there. That they're gonna have to place blame on that. And I'm not great at placing blame. My ex was great at placing blame. So if only we had someone like them here to help us out with this. But I think the judges know what they're doing, so they'll do a great job at figuring out who's really responsible for the collision, and then we can deem a winner, because clearly both these drivers deserve to be here, but only one can move forward in the bracket.
I had to mute my mic from wheezing from laughing so hard. Here we go. The judges have come to the decision here shortly. You guys have been absolutely fantastic in the chat. We do read the chat while we are commentating and have a great time. We all love drifting, and we love the passion you guys bring. Left for Vitaly, right for Element. And Element gets the win and moves on to the final four.
Yeah, so there we go. So it looks like they deemed fault there on the wheel checkup. It was just a little bit too much aggression, and we get it, right? Like, you want to try and make the differentiation visible of who's going to drive better, who's going to stay closer, who really wants it more. And I think, again, right there, it's just a little too much. Pouring a little bit too much, it just becomes a disaster. Very unlike, not unlike eating pancakes. You put on a little bit too much syrup. Now it's just a soaky, soggy mess, and now your breakfast is ruined, and maybe the rest of your attitude for the rest of the day. And maybe you're just very irritable, and then later you'll complain about why it seems everyone leaves you, when in reality you're pushing them away. All right, into the next run here. We got Stella in the chase and O'Sullivan in the lead. O'Sullivan's been wanting it all day long, doing a great job getting these outside zones, transitioning really deep, getting deep into the zone, full lock, full angle. But then again, we see the Z chasing down. The Z has been a professor of drift all day long, doing a great job, while O'Sullivan has been more of the skate street trick guy out there, just doing amazing driving. I mean, he just reminds me of one of these guys that is like style first and then perfected it. And very, very reminiscent of remembering Chelsea Denofa driving a BMW. Just so good on angle, very aggressive. Bring us through it.
Yeah, Zach O'Sullivan has always been a guy that loves to throw angle on each zone, but give a good lead lap. But you see Nico's the kid Stella just keeping that proximity all the way through and being super aggressive, knowing that he needs to knock this competitor out so he could keep moving on. They're absolutely two titans in the sim community, and we're gonna have them switch sides. Nico is gonna be in the lead. Let's see how Zach O'Sullivan is gonna be performing here in the chase, because Zach, yes, he has that angle, that X factor, but he has to also mirror the angle of the lead driver in Nico the Kid Stella, our young buck. He did drive in Poland last year. Let's see how he does in the Z, going into that first inner zone. You see Zach O'Sullivan a little forward in the pocket, punting that inner clip, but look at Nico filling out outer zone 2. Great job. Zach O'Sullivan rubbing the front tire on the door of Nico the Kid Stella Escuco 400Z as they're going through the final turn. Absolutely maniacal.
Absolutely great run by both drivers here, but we can see, of course, the Z doing a great job being smooth, but O'Sullivan seemed to just be glued a little bit closer than the previous run. I mean, right here you can see both drivers want it pretty badly, but O'Sullivan seems to be doing a great job at executing the angle and proximity while also doing it with just such a tremendous presence of style. The 400Z doing a great job, doing it very professionally. I think the judges are just gonna have to look at those runs literally side by side. Just take a look at that distance.
Yeah, you have, so Zach O'Sullivan, I've said before, he spots in Formula Drift, and he actually just recently purchased a car to drive in real life, but you also had the opportunity to drive Ryan Littoral's car last year. And the amount of talent he has in VDC and Virtual Drift Masters on the sim is great. But you have our next generation, Nico the Kid Stella, that's been absolutely shredding on the sim world and getting a real life car, now just trying to figure out how to compete. He is absolutely, these two guys are the future of drifting, I could see.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, these things just start to come into your own as far as style as you continue to get older and just experience drifting and get more seat time and build confidence, because the margin, the more aggressive you are to flick angle and really dive deep into somebody's door, I mean, the margin just gets smaller the more aggressive you want to be. So the diving from O'Sullivan seemed like it was a little bit more aggressive, but we'll have to see what happened here. And O'Sullivan takes the win, which I honestly think well-deserved, because, I mean, he was diving deeper than a sperm whale into that door, and sperm whales currently hold the record among most divers who could dive to depth of over 3,000 meters, which is 9,800 feet for any other Americans watching it. And that's information brought to you by me typing things in the chat GPT, because I don't have that information readily available. But that is how deep O'Sullivan was diving into that door.
Sometimes the fun facts you have is it's crazy. I didn't even expect that. I never thought a sperm whale and drifting would come together like that. But we have Alan Hines in the green as chassis and Darius Austriaca in the chase with the BMW. And
that's what I like, Tiny, drifting is bringing together everybody, no matter how many blowholes. There you go. Go ahead, take it over.
Here we go. Alan Hines in the lead. When it's the first inner clip, fits outer zone 1. Beautiful fill out. Holds the e-brake, gets to outer zone 2. Look at the Don Austriaca holding the proximity as Alan Hines is riding through each zone as beautifully as possible. This is a ballet of machinery.
And here we go, looking at the replay, excited to see how this looks. We get to see it again from the drone angle. Going to this first corner, both of them glued to each other coming through the faster section of this series as they come through into this outer zone. The BMW needing to cut the line a little bit just to get that proximity back taken away from a slight miscalculation on setting up into that corner, but diving back into this inside clip and then putting them right there in the pocket for the rest of the outside zone. So just one slight little bit misread from a chase driver, but other than that, great job by both of them.
And we have our next lap of this. You have Darius the Don Austriaca going to be in the lead and Alan Hines in the chase. Alan Hines also competes in Drift Masters. Absolutely stellar in the sim world. And we have Austriaca. They've battled each other multiple times in the sim. They know how each other drives. Here's the Don coming in the lead. Going in with a nice initiation. Look at the surge forward in the pocket. Alan Hines does a little correction in the chase, but able to get right back close proximity to the Don Austriaca as they go into outer zone 2, diving into inner clip 2. Beautiful fill out, transitioning to the final turn. Oh my goodness, Alan Hines, super aggressive in the chase.
That right there is exactly what we want to see if someone really wants to be the king and today's champion. As we come into the first corner, you see the BMW dive in, but that S chassis is glued to him, a tattoo on his door as they transition here, doing a good job, cutting the line a little bit to position himself. It's always a safe way to make the sacrifice that's going to have immediate payoff. He looks like he had to shadow back down a little bit, but here we see him transition, glue back to the door, and you can't even see him through the smoke. And then, of course, once it's clear, I can see the light, and he is right there. It is shining. He is there. Oh, Lord.
This is bringing me back to commentating real life with you. Always try to get me laughing in the middle of a competition. But we're going to see what the judges are going to be coming up with the decision here shortly. Alan Hines, dude, he's been absolutely maniacal last year. The one round I remember last year with him was the Poland round virtual-wise, where he was just straight shredding tires, hitting every zone where he needed to be, just straight surgical. And you have Darius Don Austriaca, absolutely heavy hitter, always gives everybody a proposition that they can't refuse. And the judges are having a real good discussion on who's going to win this battle here. Oh, and it looks like they have come to the decision. Left for Heinz, right for Austriaca. And Darius Austriaca gets the win and moves on. Great job from the both drivers. Alan Heinz, oof, you're absolutely, like, I can't even, he's got me speechless how he's driving.
Yeah, I've got to say, honestly, at this point, while there may still be only one winner at the end of tonight, at this point, I've got to say there's really no losers. Everyone is putting on a show. You are all winners in my eyes. I mean, I'm usually not one for everyone gets a trophy, but in this case, I want everybody to be proud of their driving, because honestly, I think that everyone getting a trophy, I mean, it creates, like, weaker men, you know, and now, next thing you know, we can't, like, function as a society. But every single person that's here decides to be here and belongs here and is putting on a show. Some of the best driving I've ever seen in sim racing. I'm so happy to be here. Tiny, here we go. It's the next run. Take us through it.
Jaku is going to be in the chase, and you have Daniel Andrejev in the lead as Jaku pushes him off a track on outer zone 2. Oh, my goodness. The judges are going to look at that. That was also a decel zone as Andrejev is going to continue on with the lap. Man, Jaku, that's very, I don't know what happened there. What do you think?
I mean, right now I think that, I mean, unfortunately we don't have a camera on the guy's simulator, so we don't know how he was able to recover and if he's okay, but we saw some contact there. I just think it was some over-aggression from the chase driver. We actually see a double tap there, which if you've ever seen the movie Zombieland, you've learned about it. It's the way you make sure you've killed somebody. And in this case, we see the lead car do a great job of finishing off the runs. We've got to assume he's okay. We can't see his camera. Hopefully, on his sim rig, he's got himself equipped with a nice fire suit, suppression system, 5-point harness, and it's just making sure. I mean, I think right now he's probably calling his wife or girlfriend and just making sure, you know, he tells them, hey, look, I love you. I didn't know I was going to have a near-death experience, and I promise I'll be careful next time because I want to be in your life. All right, here we go. It's the next round.
You got Jaku in the lead. Daniel Andrejev in the chase. And as Jaku is able to hit inner clip 1, beautiful fill out going outer zone 1 and 2. Oh, flirting with that outer line. Look at Andrejev as he is getting that proximity all the way through, as he is diving to the final inner clip, all the way through to the final outer zone. Great job from the lead driver, and the chase driver does a also fantastic job.
And this is what I call a comeback, ladies and gentlemen. He just had a near-death experience, and did he let it slow him down? No. He got back on track, and he said, I've got to win. I've got to win for my familia, for my fans, for you guys viewing on the stream. He is keeping it up. He once watched people drift in the stands as a child, and once he said to his father, his last dying wish was that he was going to be a champion, and now he's here, and he's doing it for all of you, and he is inside that cockpit, working for the money, and now his fate is in the judges' hands, and they're going to make the decision of if he's won, and he's done it! He's done it, by God, he's done it!
Daniel Andrejev getting a comeback story like he's in Rocky. But great job from Jaku in the lead.
There.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
We have
the deal with
the
that?
final four. The final four. You have Darius Austriaca versus Daniel Andrejev, and you have Alexander Element versus Zaku Sullivan. Winner moves on to the first and second place. Loser goes to the battle of third place. This has been an exciting round here. This is absolutely beautiful performance from all these drivers. And like you said, there's no loser today. Everybody's been absolutely stellar, Alec.
Yeah, now's a great time for me to share with you guys that my like 20-something week in pregnant wife is trying to sleep in the other room. So I'll keep the fun coming, but let me just maybe check the volume a little bit. Over here crying from a near-death experience from a sim rig crash. Virtual. So, but honestly, fun competition so far, guys. I mean, this is one of the best things I think is that we can bring the high intensity, high action skill that comes with drifting on the virtual format, and we can just make it fun. because of the fact that that's
Yeah.
what, we all are at heart. These are simulators. We're also gamers. We're car enthusiasts. We want to just be able to get on and have some fun. And that's what I think is really cool about this virtual series, is that it really changes the mood and allows us to have some more freedom and just make it all entertaining. It's all action. There's no waiting for cars to get repaired. No, 5-minute, fixing your car warnings. So we are, and now we're back at the action again with O'Sullivan in the lead, Element in the chase. Tiny, take us in.
Here's Zach O'Sullivan. Winner moves on to the first and second place battle. You see Zach O'Sullivan filling out inner clip 1 beautifully, as well as outer zone 1, holding that e-brake so he can get to outer zone 2. And look at Element getting the element of surprise, diving out of the smoke so he could get that close proximity, matching the angle of Zach O'Sullivan. Great lead lap from Zach and great chase lap from Element.
Yeah, I mean, here we go. I mean, showing that he is in his own element, speaking of which, coming through into this first zone, doing a great job. O'Sullivan's been on it all day, doing a great job, being aggressive, checking that front brake, getting into the zone, staying back. But Element's just doing a great job knowing that O'Sullivan's a driver that he can command a chase behind. O'Sullivan's been very good all day. I think his spotter's hopefully telling him, hey, like, he's not going to make any mistakes. He's really not going to fall off base. Don't assume that you're going to have to stagger behind him. Get on his door and assume what he's going to do, because he's done the same thing every single run. And it looks like Element did a great job. So, I mean, and here I am. I mean, I told a chemistry joke, but there was no reaction. So anyway, see what I did there? See the dad joke there?
Here we go. We got Element in the lead, Zach O'Sullivan in the chase. The last half of the battle of our first semi-finals, going into the finals showdown after this. Go. Alexander Element in the lead, coming in with a nice initiation, floating into that first inner clip. Look at Zach O'Sullivan surging right into the pocket and then diving a little bit far forward, cheating the line a little bit so he can hold the proximity. Zach O'Sullivan does a great job trying to mirror angle all the way throughout the zone, and now transitioning. Oh, contact twice on the last half of the track.
Oh my goodness, here we go. I mean, usually I don't trust Adams because they make up everything, but Element doing the best he can to hang on there, and I got to give him credit where it's due. Coming through this fast-paced here, O'Sullivan's looking to check him up and let him know, hey, bud, I am right behind you, buddy, old pal. Buckaroo, bud, I am right there. I'm tapping your door coming into this last zone. He's saying, geez, what's this? Geez, what's that? You feel me right there on your door? That's me staying close to you. And Element doing a great job just committing through it. Again, not trying to flop, not trying to just make it look like collision took him out. He's staying fully planted, great sportsmanship and good all-around driving. But also, O'Sully, I mean, when you're on it, you're on it. He is all over his door, chasing him down. This is one where the judges are going to have to take a look and say, all right, is this what we want? Is someone ultimately bullying to the point of contact, or is this just a massive show of skill? And O'Sully's been all about style this whole competition. He seems like he's been the one throwing it down the hardest as far as doing the most aggressive flicks, being willing to make all that. So with the intention behind it, I don't know how the judges see that kind of an action.
Yeah, and you see in the chat where picking up some merch for our Drift Masters, as well as September 12th to the 13th in Warsaw. That's the finals. Don't miss it out. It's a huge event. It's a huge party. It's one of the craziest drift events you'll probably ever experience. And we have Ragnar Simulator as one of the sponsors, Money, as well as Strom Wheels. We're going to see a replay of them backing up. Oh, there it is. This is the replay here that we were talking about earlier. You see Zach surges in, makes some contact, pushes him through outer zone 1, and then that surge going into outer zone 2. The one part they're probably going to look at is the final one, where Zach just straight bullies him through the line, hits the front quarter panel of Element, and pushes him through the final outer zone.
Yeah, and then obviously at certain points too, you got to imagine it's like, I really think the judges are going to say, like, sometimes something happens, you can tell it's an accident. Sometimes something happens, you can tell they're doing it on purpose. And so let's see, we've got the board up. Judges made him a decision, and O'Sullivan is going to take the lead on this next round of competition. He's going to move on, and Element, unfortunately, is going to be destroyed by this level of competition. But if there's anything I've learned about chemistry, is that matter cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred or whatever. Honestly, I don't know what I'm saying. I did horrible in science class.
we have our second half of this finals bracket, and the winner moves on to face Zach O'Sullivan. You have Darius Austriaca and Daniel Andrejev in the chase. Oh, we got cameras here. Darius the Don Austriaca. You saw him earlier.
And you go see all the virtual spectators in the background. Look at all those stagnant 2D spectators there by the fence as the business is getting heated up. They want to get a better view.
All right, we might get an explanation here shortly of that previous battle. Shortly.
Okay. Sorry, that was we were talking a lot about this battle. Everything comes, unfortunately, to the last corner. Also, the last corner of the first run, where Alexander's biggest mistake was on his chase position, the bubble before the last corner. But at the end, everything goes to the second run and the last corner, where Zach was not having that great chase until the point of the last corner, where it sounded, when we were listening to the sound of the engine, that Alexander was leaving of the throttle in the last corner, and that we taken like the reason of those two contacts, and we blamed the leader for those two contacts, and that's why Alexander will go and fight for the third place.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, David. We'll get you back into that booth so you could get the winner to move on. You have Andreev in the chase, Darius the Don Austriaca in the lead. Coming in here with a nice initiation, hitting that inner clip one. Beautiful fill out on outer zone one as well. Transitioning, holding that e-brake. A little bit of a checkup on that second outer zone, but able to get back into it, lighting off the tires, going to the final outer zone and inner clip is fantastic from Darius to Don Austriaca.
Yeah, right there. I mean, both of them doing such a great job, doing their thing. And he's getting really close. I mean, I think we've seen a couple of these battles that almost look like identical twins of each other. Right there, you can see some contact made from just surging a little too aggressively. He does recover from it and get right back on the throttle again. This chase car doing a great job of just employing grip where necessary to stay close and right there in the pocket across the line.
Yeah, man, oh man, these guys are absolutely... Whew. It's now becoming more of, like you said earlier, it looks like it's AI driving at this time. It's insane.
Well, incredible
the winner moves on
input
to battle.
An incredible input too. I mean, they've got to be doing this down to the right, like millisecond of when they need to be back on the throttle again. So this is really like just muscle memory at its finest.
It definitely is. Here's Andrejev in the lead as he is going into that first inner zone. And here's Darius the Don Austriaca coming in and getting nice and close and tidy. Now he has to reel in the proximity all the way through. As you see, Daniel Andrejev ripping e-brake so he could get into that final inner clip and then diving out to outer zone. And my goodness, I think Darius was using one hand that whole lap.
Yeah, this was another big perk of being able to see those inside of the cockpit views. So here we go on this inside zone, or on this outside touch and go. We see really close proximity, just clearing that bumper. I think this is actually a little bit closer on the chase than we saw in the previous run. We see a toe back a little bit closer. What I really like to see about the chase car in this is just very settled movements, but you cannot deduct from the fact that lead driver is also just snapping the angle, getting right back on the throttle when they need to be. I mean, it's very incredible driving. The judges are able to supposedly come to a winner, and it looks like
Daniel Andrejev gets the win and moves on. He is going to be battling Zach O'Sullivan for first and second place, and then we're going to be seeing our battle for third place come up here. It's going to be an absolute clinic. You have Alexander Element versus... I think that was a... Oh, yeah. It's going to be Alexander Element versus Andrejev for the final B. And then Zach O'Sullivan versus Austriaca for the first and second place. There's possibly a technical difficulty and wrong names on that last bracket.
Yeah, we had Yeah, we had the wrong ones with the Patterson being up there.
Yeah.
But we got clarifications. The judges are doing an excellent job. We've had Judge Daddy come in a couple times to talk to us, and every single time he's employed his fatherly wisdom and put us on the right track to salvation. So we are, we're moving along in this competition. Everyone is doing an incredible job driving, but now it's going to come down to the wire. If you're the drivers that have made it this far, then you now know that you've got to do only a couple more runs, but that also means you've only got a couple runs to differentiate yourself as a champion at this round. So you're all winners in my book. I love you all, but one of you I'm going to treat significantly better than the rest coming out of this, and it's the one who won. The rest of you are going to notice a significantly less amount of interest from me personally, and it's really because winners. The rest of you, fine, you're not losers, but obviously the winner is going to be my favorite child. You know what I mean? So excited to see where this goes from here.
Sorry to interrupting, but we saw that there was some issues with the graphics. So the winner of the last battle was Darius, who's going for the battle into the finals, and Daniel is going for the battle of the third place.
Awesome.
Great.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you,
the
Dad.
bracket was correct. Awesome.
Yes.
So it's gonna
Good.
be Darius Austriaca versus Zach O'Sullivan.
And while you're still there,
And-
Judge, are you proud of me? Oh, just like my real dad. Wow. All right, that's fine. He's gone.
Here we go with a battle for third place. Daniel Andrejev is in the lead. Alexander Element is in the chase. The battle for third place here at Virtual Drift Masters in Madrid. We're getting excited. 2 weeks to see this in real life. Daniel Andrejev.
Really excited,
Locked in.
and I'm not at all sad about him walking out on me. Let's go. Let's just keep going.
Here we go. You have Alexander Element getting rowdy, getting ready. You have Andrejev stone cold as he is getting ready to light off his tires on this first outer touch and go, the first lap of this battle as Daniel Andrejev hits that first touch and go in outer zone 1. Beautiful fill up, and here comes that, oh no! A huge over rotation, and they tries to fight back through to get back online. That looks like a unchaseable lead lap, but my goodness, a huge mistake from the lead driver.
Yeah, that is rough. I mean, clearly it's not something that is that it's not like a full. I guess they technically stayed in drift, but with modern cars and technology and being able to have the angle kits at their disposal, they're able to like technically save it. But as far as we're concerned, I mean that's as good as officially messing up your run right there. I mean, a great job on the chase driver for also just staying in drift, just getting on the left foot brake, kind of waiting until that whole thing sorted itself out. And you know, this is exactly where the pressure starts to get to people. I mean, everyone's been doing these runs like clockwork, but this is where you've got to put up or shut up, and this is going to determine who's the champion today. So big mistake coming there. I know he's got to be beating himself up after that, after getting this far in the competition. So the best thing he could do now in the chase position is he's just got to apply pressure, and he's got to get on Element's door as closely as possible and hope that the intimidation is going to have Element make a mistake.
And here we go. Alexander Element in the lead. Daniel Andrejev in the chase. Winner moves on to the third place podium position, and Alexander Element does a great job filling out the inner clip 1, outer zone 1 as well. Now diving into outer zone 2, filling that all the way out. Look at Andrejev unfazed by the previous mistake on the previous lap, and now going to this final outer zone. Oh my goodness, Alexander Element just leaving it all out on the track.
Yeah, there he is, clearly doing everything he can to go ahead and apply the pressure like we just mentioned, even giving a couple nudges there at the end, but unfortunately I don't think it's going to be enough to make up for the massive mistake made on the previous run. As they come in this outside zone, Element, of course, doing a great job being in his element as he comes around every section, doing it like textbook. Hopefully his spotter's telling him, look, you just saw what happened. It happened in front of you the previous run. You just need to put together a clean run, and obviously the taps there at the end, just that's the only point there to have those last couple feet, maybe potentially force a mistake from the other driver. And the judges have already made a decision. Once again, ignore the Reese Patterson on screen.
We're waiting on the correction. Hold on here. Oh my goodness. Oh, there we're gonna refresh it real quick.
So
There it is.
unfortunately, the graphics are not working that well, but I believe that everybody understands that Alexander Element is taking the third place because that mistake of Andreev was just too much.
Okay. There it is. The graphics are now correcting. Alexander Element gets third place. Daniel Andreev gets fourth place. Still did a fantastic showing throughout the bracket. And now is our final battle. A battle for first and second place. And now.
And now,
Zach O'Sullivan
ladies
rolling up to the line.
and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for. Oh, that's like the SpongeBob Krabby Patty voice. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I thought you were trying to do the New York Yankees kind of introduction for Aaron Judge. If you're not a baseball fan, I'm sorry, but they usually do that kind of similar aspect. But we have Zach O'Sullivan in the lead. Darius the Don Austriaca in the chase. Darius is gonna try to take down our last round winner.
If I'm Austriaca right now, I'm saying go ahead and be aggressive.
Darius Austriaca in the chase. He's going to try to surge into the pocket of Zach O'Sullivan. And Zach O'Sullivan does a great job matching the angle that he needs to get to outer zone 1. And then tire drops on outer zone 2, but dives into inner clip 2. Look at Darius the Don Austriaca as he's getting super spicy. Now he has to surge into the pocket on this final turn and rub that front tire on the door of Zach O'Sullivan.
Oh my God, an incredible chase run, an incredible lead run by O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan has just been a machine all day today, coming into the first corner, doing a great job sweeping all the way outside. The BMW in the chase doing a great job trying to chase, but O'Sullivan, again, just locking into that angle, getting all the way deep into that outside zone. It does give a little bit of room for that chase driver to go ahead and reel him in, but O'Sullivan is just doing this textbook, and it really starts to highlight any bit of wavering or bobbling from the chase driver. I mean, right now, I've got to say, looking at that, it looks like O'Sullivan's walking away from the first one with a slight advantage, which I'd say, I mean, now, this is it. It's all on the line. There's only one run, one champion, one winner, one opportunity, unless there's a one more time, because that's how the motorsport works. But for the most part, there's one more run, and Austriaca's got to put down the lead run of his life.
Here comes Darius the Don Austriaca getting as aggressive as he needs to be, going into that first inner clip. Beautiful fill out. Look at Zach O'Sullivan holding in that proximity, giving him some room on that transition so he could dive right back into the pocket. Now use that left foot brake to match that angle, rubs that tire on the door of Darius the Don Austriaca. Now comes that power alley into that decel zone. Look at Zach O'Sullivan matching angle of Don Austriaca going through that lap.
This is as close as it's possible for you to get to somebody else without having to ask for consent first for it to be socially acceptable. And here we go, coming through this chase run. O'Sullivan doing the best he can to dive in, taking a little bit of the inside meat to get closer, and then staying right on the door. He's touching him where he can and let him know, hey, I am right behind you. This is the last run, and we have a chance right now to put this to bed with the judges, and I'm going to stay towed behind you the entire rest of the run. And now the question is from the judges, do they have enough to deem a winner, and do we have a champion today walking away from this event?
Oh man, these guys have been out here. They do qualifying the past 2 days for all the drivers, and it comes down to the Sunday battles. You have Zach O'Sullivan that won last round, and Darius is out there out for blood pretty much on the sim world and just being an absolute stellar performer. I think the judges have come to a decision. Who's going to get first? Zach O'Sullivan to the left, Darius Austriaca to the right.
We got some chat.
And Darius Austriaca gets the win! First place! Wow.
There we go. That was a close-fought battle, but looking back at those runs, I mean, Darius is just calm, cool, collected the entire time, and there we have him in the simulator, the man of the hour, chilling out there. He's now my official favorite, and I'm going to follow him on Instagram and look up every single post and read the comments, see who our mutual followers are, and maybe see what's going on in his life. And there they go, the victory donuts going on around the cone. Guys, this has been one for the books. Incredible driving. I'm impressed. This is where the height of skill is in drifting on a simulator, and it is seriously here to play. And it has been a tremendous honor to be here with you, watching it firsthand from the best seat in the house, which I always see is the best seat in the house, is right here in my gamer chair, where I love to just melt like a degenerate and play video games all day. But this time, I get to witness greatness, and that makes it that much better.
Yeah, Alec, and you're going to be with us throughout the whole series. It's great to be partners in crime again. You have the schedule coming up here in a short bit, but you have the 3-car train. This is something that we do as tradition in the simulator, a 3-car tandem going all the way through the track of the first, second, and third place winners of the round. This is Madrid. This will be the first round of Drift Masters this year. It's going to be in 2 weeks. You should definitely grab your tickets if you're around the area. Check out the event. The venue is awesome. The experience is even better. So, Alec, last takes. What are you feeling from real life to sim with this bracket?
Yeah, I mean, this is very entertaining. It feels nice and homey. We get to have the chat. We get to have these drivers also home and comfortable on their sim rigs, and we get to see all of the most inconvenient things about enjoying a real-life drift event completely removed. And we just get to see raw, unadulterated driving and skill. And it just means that we get to see what the best is that the motorsport as a whole has to offer. And it really is just as demanding from the drivers from a skill perspective. This season is already heating up. You've got O'Sullivan in first place with 106 points. Asayev in second with 82, and a third name there that I cannot pronounce if my life depended on it. There you go, for 71 points. And I will learn the names as we go along, I'm sure. And then we got 7 rounds. So there we go. That was Circuito del Jarama. And we've got 7 rounds with us today, or this season. And of course, you've got the real life events that follow every 2 weeks from the real in-person events. So if you're a fan of drifting, I think the best way to be as involved and as fun of a fan as possible and get as much of a thrill out of it is just to follow everything, because you've got some of the real drivers joining in this series, and now with the updated points in the 2025 standings, you can see 190, 134, and 122 as our top 3. So Strika moving into that 3rd place position.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic to see that. It's a battle. It's definitely a battle. I think last year in the final round, the Jaku just had to cross the line in the top 32 battle or top 16 battle, and he ran away with the season standings. This year we're seeing more of a battle, but it's still the start of the season. So I'm excited to see how this develops with all the tracks, and all the virtual Drift Masters tracks are the real layouts from the real world tracks. So it's just a taste here at the Drift Masters YouTube channel, where you could check it out. Definitely subscribe. Definitely check out all their content and tune into their live events. I'm super excited. I'm very excited to see how the motorsport expands, not only from real world, but the culmination of sim and real life is fantastic to see here today.
Yeah, and I think one of the best things, it's a note that anyone who's watching this right now and is stay tuned in with us, is to make sure that people show out for the virtual series. Because you got to remember, in real life, drifting is becoming harder and harder to become able to compete in. But drifting virtually is very attainable, and the more people that watch, and the more people that tune in, the more marketable this is going to be. And then it makes it so that way drifting in a simulator and drifting in the virtual Drift Master series is just as rewarding as doing it in real life. And it can really become something highly rewarding for our highest contenders. And we can maybe even get to the point one day where when it's time for me to hydrate, instead of me drinking from an unmarked bottle of very refreshing beverage, which we'll never know what it is, when someone finally approaches Drift Masters and says, "You guys have a ton of viewership," I can say, "Wow, look at this amazing hydrating electrolyte filled drink. Brought to you by Put Drink brand name here." And the first step in that is just making sure that you support the series, watch it, try to compete, spread the word, and get the attendance numbers up. Because then if you want to compete and become a champion here, it can be something really special for you.
For sure. As I was drinking my Red Bull. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and week. And man, check out Drift Masters. They're awesome on the social medias. They post out some good stuff. The Virtual Drift Masters does their own Instagram as well, so you'll see top highlights of the battles. And another thank you to the sponsors of money, Strom Wheels, Ragnar Simulator, for helping us make this happen for you guys. Now, with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. We're going to be signing off. Have a great rest of your day.
Virtual Drift Masters is back in 2025 and it's coming in hot. This season, 10 Drift Masters pros step into the sim to battle 40 of the last season's best virtual drivers in a showdown like no other. With 7 rounds of high-stakes action and top 32 broadcasts every Sunday, the stage is set for something legendary. And calling all the action, you may ask? It's me, Tiny, bringing the hype, the energy, and every tire-shredding moment. This is Virtual Drift Masters 2025. Let's go!